dumped it on the counter. And so she reflexively turns around. She's like, Jamie, her daughter, Jamie, get in here. Jamie comes inside and she's like, what, Mom? And she's like, did you do this? And Jamie would say that she literally laughed at her mom. Like, why would I do that? And her mom's like, well, I don't know. Do you know if Marie did this? And she's like, no, we've been outside. So she shoos her daughter away and she calls in Marie. And Marie too is like, no, I didn't touch the peanut butter. Susan ultimately just kind of says, okay, the kids don't want to own up to it. It's a great day today. I'm not gonna let this ruin it. And so she's kind of rationalizing what's going on. She's thinking, okay, one of the kids must have knocked it over without meaning to, and maybe it was warmer in here and I just didn't realize it and it melted. Any number of things could have been the reason for this, but I just don't care. After cleaning up the peanut butter, Susan leaves the house and they, all four of them, spend the rest of the day goofing around outside near the pool. When they come back in the house later that day, they find that there have been cans that you would keep in your pantry, like canned food, stacked on each of the steps leading upstairs. They also find that there have been random objects placed all over the house in strange patterns. In the bathroom, they find shampoo bottles stacked on top of one another, hairbrushes arranged in a star pattern on the counter. They open the microwave and find peanut butter jars and other random canned foods and stuffed animals from the kids' rooms in the microwave. The cleaning materials underneath the sink had been pulled out and arranged in a height line from shortest to tallest on the kitchen floor. Also, there were just strange liquids all over the walls. It looked like maybe ketchup or other sauces. They couldn't really tell what it was, but it was sprayed all over the house. There was shampoo on the walls and soap on the walls. And so when Susan and Matt and the girls go inside, they think that someone's invaded their house. So they run back out again. They're kind of looking around the property, wondering what they should do. And no one's come near their property. And they would have seen someone come to their property. So they start filming it. They go in and they film what's going on. That's why we have all these pictures. And they have no idea what to make of this. Matt believes it's Jamie, so not his biological daughter. Susan believes it's his daughter, Marie, and it starts this awful conflict between Matt and Susan. This would be the start of what would turn out to be a major fracture in this family, because it just continued to grow. You got to put yourself in their position. If you're Matt or Susan, you don't want this to be anything other than one of the kids did this. If it's not one of the kids, it means you had an intruder in your home. If it's not an intruder, then what caused it? They believe that the other child is doing this. They believed it so much that they did not see reason, but more than that, it would keep Matt and Susan from handling this the way I think anyone should have, which is get the police involved. They don't. So they start cleaning it up, and the house was really a mess, so it took quite a while to clean it up. And they ultimately just kind of moved on in that way that people who are in denial move on because you're in denial. That's what they were doing. So a week passes since finding their house in disarray with cans and jars all over the place and liquids on the walls. And Jamie and Marie are spending some time together in Jamie's room. Marie was sitting at a desk that was next to the bed, and Jamie had a cup of coffee. She puts the cup of coffee down on the desk next to Marie and says, I have to go use the bathroom. She turns around, she walks out, she comes back, and Marie has her head down in her homework. She's not apparently paying attention to anything around her. And Jamie walks in and sees that the cup of coffee that had been sitting on the desk has now been thrown all over her bed. And there's only been one person inside of the room, and that's been Marie. She's like, Marie, what are you doing? Why'd you throw my coffee all over the bed? And Marie pokes her head up and she's like, what are you talking about? And she looks over at the coffee and she's just as surprised as Jamie is. She's like, I didn't do that. Jamie doesn't believe Marie. She's mad at her because Jamie believed that Marie was the one responsible for placing the cans and everything all over the house. And so this was just another example of her trying to get attention or something like that. Jamie leaves the room to get some bleach. She comes back and she puts the bleach down on her dresser. She had all her drawers open with her clothes out. And she has this bottle of bleach sitting right at the top of this dresser. And so she goes over to the bed, picks up the cup itself that had the coffee. She puts that back on the table, turns around to get the bleach, and the cap has been turned off and it's now dumping bleach all over her clothes. It's just pouring out. Marie had been sitting in the chair the whole time, and Jamie had seen her the whole time. And so when she sees the bleach dumping all over her clothes, she knows it could not have been Marie. So she screams. Marie looks over, she sees what's going on, she screams. Susan hears this and comes charging in the room and she's like, what's going on? The girls can't describe what's going on. And as they're standing there, a picture frame falls off the wall. And it startles them all. They're looking over and then another picture falls. It's one thing to have one picture fall, but to have two fall in close succession to one another, that's not a coincidence. Susan sees the pictures fall. She hears her kids in hysterics and they run out of there. They get in the car and actually just leave the house because the girls just did not want to be there. This was a big moment in this story because to this point, Jamie, without saying anything, believed Marie was responsible for placing everything around the house and making a mess in the house. Marie felt the same way about Jamie. Again, they didn't say it to each other, but it's how they rationalized it. Susan was doing the same thing, but for both of the kids. She basically believed that either Marie or Jamie had placed the cans all over the house. Now, Susan is starting to believe that something else is going on in the house. And Marie and Jamie absolutely believe something is going on in the house. They actually suggested that we believe our house is haunted. At some point after driving around, Susan and Jamie and Marie go back to the house. Matt has been at work the whole time, so he's not there. When they get back to the house is once again covered in cans all up the stairs, placed in weird orientations on the ground, things in the microwave. The fridge has been opened, all the food's been dumped out. There's liquids all over the wall, and they hadn't been there, and neither had Matt. Now combine it with the fact that you just had this coffee and bleach incident and the picture's fallen off the wall. They're talking about the house being haunted. You can imagine what it was like to walk into that house and see it like that all over again when it could not have been Jamie or Marie or Susan. When Matt came home that night, he was just more convinced that it had to have been Marie or Jamie or even Susan, because Susan's acting like something's going on here, something paranormal's going on here, and he wasn't there. He didn't see the coffee and bleach incident. He didn't see the pictures falling off the wall. And now he sees his girlfriend kind of buying into this idea that it's some paranormal thing. He was a really intense skeptic and was just absolutely unwilling to see this as anything other than a bad prank that now his girlfriend is even getting in on. It causes a huge fight between him and Susan. He's like, why are you letting the kids doing this? Why are you feeding into this? She's saying, you don't get it. There's something wrong with this house. Practically at each other's throats, they pick the house up again. It takes forever. They put everything back. And by the end of it, it's like no one wants to talk to each other. The kids are fighting with each other. Susan and Matt practically hate each other. And that's how that night wraps up. That night, all the power went out in the house. And all they heard all night was doors banging nonstop. And their stove is set to light. So all you hear is that clicking sound. They couldn't get it to turn off. I mean, right in front of them. There's all this paranormal activity and they're recording it. They have no idea what to do. Even though we view this story and say, come on guys, either this is an elaborate hoax or you gotta go to the police. You gotta do something right here. You're doing it wrong. You're in denial, you're fighting with each other. You can't do that. You gotta do something about this. But now put yourself in their position. Their world has been completely turned upside down. Everything they believed and understood about the world is being questioned right now. They are trying to hold on to every last shred of that former life and understanding of life that they had before this haunting began. And so they don't handle this well. They just continue to fight and to be at each other's throats, blaming each other for all the things that are blatantly happening in front of them that have nothing to do with Matt, Susan, Jamie, or Marie. So at this point, Susan and Matt and the girls have not told any of their friends or other family members about what's going on. So the next day, Susan would actually go to her close friend and say, here's what's going on, and I have no idea what to do. And her friend would say, maybe you ought to try giving it a peace offering. Maybe this thing in your house, feels like you're intruding. And if you offer some sort of peace offering to demonstrate that you mean no harm, that you want to coexist, that maybe it'll get along with you. Maybe it'll stop. So whether this was good advice or not, we don't know. But Susan finally has something that she has control over. And she really gets into this. She gets the girls. She knows Matt's going to be out for the day at work. And she knows Matt would not be cool with doing this. He would not believe that offering a peace offering is going to do any good. It would just cause more fights. And so she saw this window of time to take the girls and do this peace offering. She had this little figurine. It was a cat figurine. Susan loved cats, and she figured that a cat represented something she loved, and so it would be the perfect kind of deliberate, intentional offering showing that she means no harm, they mean no harm. Let's kind of call it truce here. And she puts candles on this table, and she puts the cat right in the middle, and she doesn't know what to say or how to do it, and the girls are just sitting there like, what's happening here? And Susan just kind of says, please accept this gift. It's my gift to you. We mean no harm, and we want to coexist. And it just so happens that as they're performing this kind of ritual, Matt came home. He had not slept the night before. It had been a really bad night with the slamming of doors and all that craziness. And so he left work early. He called in sick, basically. And he comes into the house and literally sees Susan doing this kind of ritual with his daughter and his stepdaughter. And he immediately goes to like, absolutely not. We're not going to go to trying to interact with this thing. We're not going to act like it's real. It's not real. And so he goes over and he kind of picks up on what they're doing, that this cat figurine is at the center of attention. And, you know, Susan and the girls are telling him, don't do anything, don't touch it. And he takes the figurine and he walks out to the back deck and he throws it onto their backyard. And Susan and the girls are crying because they're like, oh my gosh, you're going to make this so much worse. Everybody's attention is towards the backyard. When they all turn around to look at the mantle, Matt thinking he had solved the problem, there is a figurine, an identical one of the cat that's sitting on the table again. They all gasp, they can't believe it, and it doesn't make any sense. They watched Matt throw the figurine. Matt doesn't care, picks it up and throws it on the ground and smashes it right then and there. And it's just this crazy sequence of events that when you hear the firsthand interviews with Susan, she can barely describe this moment because you're seeing something reappear and then Matt is destroying it. It's like a very deliberate, aggressive act towards this thing in the house, the very opposite of what it was meant to do. And Susan would say that she knew they were going to go through hell for that. That night, after everybody finally fell asleep, Jamie wakes up in the middle of the night and goes down into the kitchen to get a snack. When she goes in there, she sees written all over the walls, everywhere, is the word cat. Everywhere. And she immediately runs upstairs. She gets her mom, she gets Matt and Marie. Everybody sees that there's this word cat written everywhere. Matt looks at Jamie and says, you're the one that found this. You did this. Susan comes to defend Jamie and says, you're the one, Matt, that smashed the cat figurine. There's no wonder this is happening. And so this horrible fight happens where they aren't seeing what's actually going on. They're just seeing red and fighting with each other. Meanwhile, they're blatantly being haunted. In addition to cat being written everywhere, the house had been completely ransacked. I mean, everything's been dumped out of drawers. Everywhere that you could make a mess, there had been a mess made. And no one woke up to it. They were all in bed. No one woke up to this much of a mess. It didn't make any sense. They start cleaning up this horrible mess. And as they move some things aside in the kitchen, they find what looks to be a huge footprint. It is not Matt's footprint. It's certainly not one of the girls' footprints. It's easy for us to say, well, why didn't you go to the police? But you got to remember that when you're in real crisis mode, your brain will tell you that everything is fine. It will be in complete denial of things that are right in front of you because it's a coping mechanism. And so they did nothing and just let it continue. Susan desperately wanted to leave the house, but she couldn't do it financially. They couldn't leave the house. They couldn't afford to, so they're trapped. At this point, the kids are getting very withdrawn. They don't want to be in the house, so Marie would end up staying in her room all day. Jamie would do the same thing. Matt and Susan weren't talking. There was just nothing being done to correct the situation, and everybody was so upset and angry with each other. It was just a worst case scenario. So in the last couple of weeks that they ever stayed at this house, because they would leave, two major events occurred. The first one happened when Marie was home alone. She was only going to be there for a couple hours by herself, and even though Susan and Matt did not want to leave her alone, they didn't have another choice, and Jamie wasn't there, so Marie's going to be home alone, and it's nighttime. So this is like straight out of a horror movie. She's sitting in the living room watching TV, and at some point the TV starts turning off and on. So off on, off on, off on, and she knows, because she's been in this house now and seen the craziness, that something bad's about to happen. And the TV finally just turns off. She can't get it on. She reaches for the remote flies off the table. And now she's just sitting there frozen because she knows that something's in the house with her. She watches as the rocking chair right in front of her just starts to rock back and forth, as if the person or thing that had pulled away the remote had walked over and sat down in the rocking chair and was now looking at her rocking back and forth. Marie is looking at the rocking chair as all the pictures on the walls just start one by one falling off the wall. Marie and Jamie had a habit of always having a digital camera with them at all times because they were taking pictures and filming everything strange happening in their house. And so as she's laying there, just absolutely horrified, she takes her camera in her hand and kind of turns it and just starts taking pictures of the room before running out of the room to get her phone, where she calls Susan, she calls her dad, she calls everybody. She's screaming into the phone, you got to get here, something's going on. And Susan flies home, Jamie flies home, they rush inside and they grab her, and she's unhurt, but the house has once again been tossed. And then, after it all kind of settles down, Marie says, I took pictures. And so Susan and Matt and Jamie look at these pictures. There are these weird orbs of light that are very clearly in the room with her, that are moving around the room. She managed to get a couple pictures of them, and they're just totally out of this world. At this point, Matt is convinced that there's something paranormal happening in the house. He's not even putting up the charade that this is Jamie, because it wasn't. It wasn't his daughter. It wasn't anybody. How can you explain these pictures? You can't. And so Matt decides, well, I don't know who we call for this, but I think you call the church. And so he tried calling a bunch of priests and pastors and tried to get anybody to come over. And the best he could do was get a pastor to come over and pray with them before leaving and saying, we can't help you. And so they were totally on their own, and they can't afford to leave. They know something horrible is happening here, and they're just trapped. And finally, the second major event that occurred in those final 2 weeks happened to Jamie when she was home alone. Jamie was in her room and she starts hearing pounding on her door. She started filming this pounding on her door. There's no one home with her. And you just hear in her voice that she's terrified and someone is pounding over and over on the door, on her bedroom door. And at some point she knows she has to go into the hall. And so she goes over to the door. She's building the strength to reach down and open the door. And as soon as her hand would go near the doorknob, the pounding on the other side of the door would stop. Like it knew she was about to come out into the hall. And so she didn't open the door, and she went back onto her bed and she just sat there in the fetal position for 3 hours, listening to something smashing nonstop into the door. At some point, the banging stops. And after a few minutes of the banging being done, she thinks this is her chance to escape the house. She opens the door and there's no one there. But the door on the outside, where the knocking had been happening, there's this huge dent and divot in the door. And the door handle on the outside, from the hallway side, has been bent downward. On the ground in the hall is a pile of utensils, pots, pans, silverware, knives. This thing had been using tools to try to open the door. Next door to her room was a bathroom, and the bathroom door did not have a doorknob on it. You basically just pushed it shut. But there was a space for a doorknob that you could actually look through. They just hadn't put it on there yet. And she noticed in the bathroom that the light was flickering. And she thought, I think it's in there. And she decides she's going to try to trap this thing. So she goes to her desk where she had some string. She goes back over and loops the string through this hole in the door and leans back and pulls the door shut, thinking she's trapped this thing inside. As soon as she does, she starts feeling resistance on the door. Someone is pulling back. And at some point, the string gets cut and she falls back into her room. At which point, the bathroom door swings open and she says, I'm about to come face to face with something out of my nightmares. But before she could see this thing come out of the bathroom, her bedroom door slams shut and she hears the rustling of pans and tools and metal clinking against each other right outside her door. She knows this thing is interacting with all those tools and pots and pans right on the other side of her door. It's this horrifying thought. And after just a moment or two, she sees smoke coming into her bedroom. And so she immediately runs to the door to try to open it. And when she does, she sees that now there is a frying pan sitting in the hall that has a toilet paper roll completely on fire. And that there's been toilet paper strewn all over the hallway. Like this is a wick and it's gonna light the hallway on fire. She grabs a sweatshirt and she smothers the fire. At this point, she's in full survival mode. She knows she has to get out of this house. It's trying to kill her. And so she walks down this hall, pulling aside all of the toilet paper, getting ready to come face to face with this horrible thing. She goes into the living room. The whole thing has been covered in toilet paper, paper towels. Papers have been strewn everywhere. This thing was trying to light the house on fire with her trapped inside. And so she manages to make her way through this maze of toilet paper. She sees there's no other fire set, and she goes outside defeated and just sits on the front steps of her house, waiting for her mom to come back. Susan, Matt, and Marie were all together, so they came back and they saw Jamie sitting on the front steps just crying. They go inside, they see the scene. Jamie explains what happens, and that was it. They knew they were going to have to go bankrupt to leave the house. They did not have the money to leave, but they had to leave. And so they barely packed up and they left that house. It didn't sell. Susan literally went bankrupt, and soon after they left the neighborhood, their neighbors left the neighborhood, and 5 other neighbors in their immediate vicinity all left. All of the houses did not sell. They are all vacant. No one knows why. Susan, Jamie, Matt, and Marie, since leaving that neighborhood, even though they were ruined financially, they were very happy to get out of there. They've had no other paranormal activity since they left, and they're just glad they got out of there with their lives.
Just a reminder, my very first book, Mr. Bullen Presents Strange, Dark, Mysterious, The Graphic Stories, is out right now and shipping worldwide. You can find it wherever books or audiobooks are sold. This book is truly a brand new experience for anybody who's a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious. We've never had a book before, so this is a big deal. It's a collection of 9 stories. Some are new, some are old, but they're all awesome. The artwork is incredible. The storytelling is just superb. So if you have not purchased your copy yet, or you haven't bought it for one of your friends yet, come on, go to book.ballenstudios.com or go to wherever books are sold and get a copy today. Again, that is book.ballenstudios.com or go to wherever books or audiobooks are sold to get your copy of our first book today.
"911 dispatchers hear a lot of interesting stories coming from the other end of the phone. But one group of dispatchers out of Reno, Nevada may win the award for the creepiest 911 calls ever received. When the details of these calls they got were put online, the internet went crazy. Here is their story. There was this old couple that lived about 20 miles east of Reno, Nevada. In 2010, the husband dies, leaving the wife all alone in this house. Shortly after his passing, she began calling 911 2-3 times a week, requesting things like, "Can you please put some water on to boil? Hey, can you change the thermostat?" It was clear she was showing signs of dementia, and the dispatchers were respectful of her and gently told her that this is 911, you can only call if it's an emergency, and at some point the woman would understand her mistake and she would say sorry and she would hang up. No first responders were ever sent out for these calls because it didn't seem like an emergency, it just seemed like a confused elderly person. But no matter how many times they told her, she kept calling back, and eventually her calls took a turn. Instead of calling 911 to ask for help with mundane tasks around the house, she would call 911 believing she was talking directly to her deceased husband, John. The dispatcher would pick up and the woman would say, "John, where are you? John, John." By this time, the dispatchers had gotten so many calls from this woman, they would recognize her address coming through and they knew what to expect. They would answer the phone, they'd be respectful, and they would tell her, like they always did, "This is 911, you can't call here, you need to talk to your family." And again, they did not send a responding unit out to her because it just seemed like she was confused, not in any danger. But one day when she called, she sounded frantic and scared.
"John, please come home. Help me, I need help. John, come home."
This time, they would send first responders out to the woman's house. When the responding unit arrives at her house just minutes after she had placed the 911 call, they go to the door and they're knocking and they're yelling for her and she's not coming to the door and it's all quiet in the house. The door's unlocked, so they open it up and they announce themselves. They walk inside and immediately they can tell the heat is not on because it's very, very cold inside the house. They look around the first floor and they can't find her, and there's no sign of a struggle or any obvious problems that could have happened inside of the house. So they go upstairs and they start searching all the rooms and no one's there until they get to the last room, and it's the bedroom. They go inside and there's an older woman who's lying on the bed and she's clearly deceased and has been for several hours because rigor mortis had already set in. The police are able to confirm that the woman who's lying on the bed is the same woman who owns the house and lives there. And at this point, they call back to dispatch and they tell them, "Hey, you know, the woman that you claim made this 911 call, well, it can't have been her. Because based on rigor mortis, she was dead at the time that 911 call was made." But the dispatchers are like, "No way. We know what she sounds like. We speak to her multiple times a week. We have a whole protocol built when we see her address come across because we speak to her so often. That 911 call that you got that led you to that house where she was, that call was made by her." What they ultimately decide is the reason for this discrepancy is she didn't have rigor mortis. She was just stiff because it was really cold inside of her house, and that she had died in those couple of minutes between leaving the 911 call and when officers arrived. But in the back of everybody's minds, they're a little freaked out. A few days go by and another call is placed to 911 coming from that woman's home address. The dispatcher sees that and has to do a double take, like that's not possible. But they're thinking, okay, this could be a relative, it could be a friend, it could be anything. Picks up the phone and she's shocked when it's the same woman who is frantically yelling for John to come here, save me, I need help. And the dispatcher, who's well aware of the history and well aware that this woman's supposed to be dead, stays calm, goes through the procedure, tries to get more information from this woman, but the call ends abruptly and there's no more information to be had. And so, not knowing what else to do, she asks a responding unit to go check this house out. The responding unit goes over to the property, they knock on the door, no one's inside, the door is actually still open, they go in, the house is empty, there's no one there, there's no one that could have made that call. At this point, dispatch is like, okay, this has got to be a prank. But the next day, same thing happens. Here comes a call from the dead woman's house. They pick it up and it's this distraught woman yelling for help, I need my husband, and the dispatcher is trying to get more information, but they can't, and then the line cuts out. Once again, they have to send responders to this location because this woman has called 911 and is saying that she needs help. And once again, the officers get to the house and it's vacant. Just like when she was alive, these calls would persist multiple times a week. They continued even after her house was broken into and burned to the ground. There's not even a house anymore. And there are still calls coming through from that address to 911. Finally, the police get in touch with the phone company and they explain the situation, and the phone company looks at their records and they say, actually, her phone line was disconnected almost immediately after she was deceased. But they tell police there's a chance that it might not have been disconnected properly at the site, and that could be a reason why it's still working. So they send a lineman to go check out the actual property to confirm her lines were disconnected properly and that no wires were getting crossed, and he said all of it checked out. Everything has been detached this whole time. The phone company thought perhaps there was a digital recording of her that got trapped in their system and was randomly bouncing to their call center. But the dispatchers would say, you know, it doesn't sound like a recording that's playing the same every single time. It's always the same message. She's yelling for her husband to come save her. But the way she sounds is always different. It's a unique phone call every single time. So because there wasn't a definitive explanation for why this was happening, they had to treat each call like it was serious. And so multiple times a week for a year, they received these ghost calls and had to send out responding officers to check on her, even though the house was gone and there was nothing there and there was never anyone there. It was just a vacant lot. And then finally, a year after this woman has died, the calls just abruptly stopped. And the police did not launch an investigation into what it was, because the reality is police need to prioritize things that are threats to people or places. And this really wasn't either of those things. It was just really bizarre. And so the official explanation for how a dead woman could be calling 911 from a non-existent phone line in a non-existent house for a year is, we don't know. In 2006, Dave Murphy had just become a police officer in Salt Lake City, Utah. His first role was as a protective service officer, which meant he'd be in charge of physical security in a number of the county facilities. Dave's first facility was the Capital City Theater, which is a landmark inside of Salt Lake City. It's been around since the early 1900s. It's this beautiful, grand theater. So in early August, Dave reports to the Capital City Theater for his first day on the job, and he meets his partner, an officer by the name of Morgan Matthews. He gets there on this first day, and right away, Dave would say that Morgan was just strictly business. The first place that Morgan takes Dave is the control room, which sits on the first floor of the theater. The theater had 3 floors, and then it also had a basement as well. So the control room was on that first floor. Inside of the control room were all of the security monitors, because there was all these cameras set up inside of the theater. The cameras weren't great though. You pretty much could only tell what was in frame if there was a light on, and most of the time at night especially, lights were off. Once they were done looking at the control room, Morgan says to Dave, now we're gonna go do our rounds. This is something we do every time you get to the theater. You do a security round and make sure everything's locked, all the lights are off. Before you come back to the control room, you'll do that at the beginning of your shift and at the end of your shift. Morgan brings Dave downstairs, and it's the first time Dave is seeing the basement, and he's shocked by how big it is. It is this massive hallway that stretches way down. In the middle of the hall is a piano that's just sitting out in the middle, and the lighting's not good down there. This is a very old theater. You know, everything in the building was pretty old. And Dave remembers thinking that he was immediately creeped out by this scene, this long hallway with all these doors and this piano right in the middle of the hallway. And he's thinking to himself, I don't want to spend much time down here. This is so creepy. But they go down the hall, they check all the doors, they make their way up to the main floor, the second floor, the third floor, everything gets checked. And so after they do this security round, Dave and Morgan go back to the control room, and Dave is anticipating getting to know Morgan a little bit. This is their first night. They're going to be working together a lot. And Dave would say that Morgan just seemed really cold and just did not want to talk to Dave very much. And as soon as their shift was almost over, Morgan was very eager to just knock out the security rounds and just get out of that building. At the end of that night, Dave remembers thinking that there's just something off about Morgan's behavior. It seemed like Morgan really didn't like being in the theater. And it would turn out that he was onto something, because Morgan didn't like being in that building. But it would take him a while to share with Dave why. Over the next couple of days, Morgan and Dave would do their security rounds together, because Dave's in training, Morgan's teaching him. But on August 9th, which is 2 days after Dave's first day on the job, Morgan was confident that Dave knew how to secure the whole building. And so at the end of the night, he tells Dave, why don't you do the security rounds yourself? Dave feels very confident that he knows how to do it. He goes down into the basement, makes sure all the doors are shut and locked, that the lights are off, finishes the basement, goes up to the first floor where the control room is, and checks all the rooms on that floor. He goes into the main auditorium space. He's checking all the different nooks and crannies to make sure there's nobody hiding in there. He goes up to the second floor. He checks all the different rooms up there and the balcony. Makes his way up to the third floor where there's all the offices of staff that work at the theater. At the end of the search, the last room he would check was the rehearsal room. And it was the only room where there was no door to it. So you poke your head in, kind of look around, make sure no one was in there, and then you would leave, and that's the end of your check. So Dave gets to the rehearsal room, he flips the light on, and he looks inside, doesn't see anybody, is satisfied that no one's in there, turns the light off, and as he's about to turn back into the hallway, he hears a door slam with tremendous force right across the hallway from where he was, and it was the bathroom door. And his first reaction is someone just ran out of the bathroom. Someone who had snuck into the building must have run out of the bathroom, and they're making a break for it to get out of the theater before I catch them. And so he instinctively picks up his radio and he calls to Morgan and says, someone's on the third floor. But when Morgan looks at the camera, he doesn't see anybody. At this point, Dave's drawn his weapon, and he's looking down the hall, he doesn't see anybody. And as he's waiting for Morgan to come upstairs to back him up so they can go look for this person that's just ran down the hall, he realizes two things. One, just because he heard the door slam doesn't mean they left and slammed it. They could be in the bathroom. And so he's thinking to himself, someone could be in the bathroom right now. Maybe that's why we didn't see him on the camera. And then the second thing he thought of is that door, the bathroom door, can't slam. It's got this huge hydraulic hinge to it. It can't slam. So his gun is drawn and he's aiming it at the bathroom door right as Morgan comes up on his right. Morgan draws his pistol, he's got it on the door as well, and they make entry into the bathroom. They clear all the different spaces in the bathroom and no one's in there, and there's no way to get out of there. Morgan and Dave are like, okay, well, they must not have come in here. They must have run out of the bathroom. They're somewhere in the theater. And so they decide they're going to search the entire building and find this person that clearly was just in the bathroom, and that's how they slammed the door. We're not going to worry about how they slammed the door with the hydraulic hinge. We just know it was slammed somehow. So they leave the bathroom, guns still drawn, and they start making their way down the hall. They're checking all the doors, everything is locked. When they start making their way downstairs to the second floor, Dave recognizes through the door, because there's a door leading onto the second floor, he can see that the lights are on, and he had turned them off. And so as they're walking down the stairs, he says to Morgan, hey, did you turn the lights on the second floor? And Morgan's like, no. And so they think that whoever was here, whoever was in the bathroom is on the second floor. They must have turned the lights on. They go into the second floor, and not only are the lights on, but all the doors on the second floor had been opened. They search the entire second floor. They search every single room. No one's on the second floor. They turn off the lights, they shut all the doors, everything's locked. When they went down to the first floor, everything was the way it should have been, locked, lights off, nothing down there. And they go down to the basement, and even though it was creepy being down there because they've now searched the whole building, and they're anticipating coming in contact with whoever is here, assuming they haven't left the building yet, and there's no one down there. They decided to review the footage from the third floor to see if they could pick up someone running in the hall around the time that door slammed. But the camera was not trained on the bathroom door, so you just have this view down the hall. You can't see the bathroom specifically, not to mention the hallway is dark, and the cameras are terrible without light. And so all they're able to see is the light go on in the rehearsal room while Dave is doing his last check in there. The lights turn off because Dave's about to turn around, and then after that you just hear this massive slam of this door, but you can't see what happened. So they don't know what to make of it. They're both very much on edge that someone might still be in the building. And so they do another sweep of the building and no one's there. And so they decide to just chalk it up and say, we were hearing things and seeing things. I'm sure it's fine. Let's just get out of here. And they leave. A couple of days later, on August 11th, Morgan is working alone. Dave wasn't coming in that day, so Morgan's alone in the theater doing a shift. And at some point in the night, as he's sitting in the control room, he thinks he hears whispering in the hall right behind him. And so after the experience he had with Dave a couple nights ago, he's on edge. So he draws his pistol right away. And so he goes out into the hallway, and immediately when he steps into the hall, the whispering seems to go farther and farther away from him down the hall. So he gets out there, he's looking around, he can't see anything. He makes his way down the hallway towards the stairs that go down into the basement, or if he wanted to go up to the second floor. And when he gets to the top of the stairwell, he's gun drawn, looking down, looking up. He hears what sounds like coughing coming from the basement. And at this point, Morgan said that he was actually pretty scared. I mean, imagine being alone in this theater. Just a couple of days earlier, you've had this weird experience with slamming doors and doors being opened and lights going on that somebody else, another police officer, witnessed with you. You're alone in this theater and you're hearing coughing coming from the basement after hearing voices behind you. That's pretty terrifying. So he very slowly starts going down the stairwell. He's getting ready to clear the corner, and just as he does, the coughing stops. He turns the lights on and he looks down the hall and there's nothing there. He starts making his way down the hall. He's checking every door, making sure it's locked, making sure that everything is secure. And he gets all the way down the hall, and as he's almost done checking the basement, he smells smoke, and it's coming from a door right next to him. And so he unlocks that door and he goes in, and there's no fire, but all he can smell is smoke. So he turns the light on. He's looking around, there's no fire. He's convinced that somewhere down in the basement there's a fire. He goes to every single room and he keeps checking and there's nothing. And then at some point the smoke smell dissipates. He checks every space in the theater to look for a fire, and there's no fire. He's wondering if he should call the fire department, but he's thinking, what would I tell them? There's no fire. And so he ultimately, after checking 3-4 times and being very confident there wasn't a fire, he just says, okay, no fire. I guess I was just smelling things. A few weeks later, on September 4th, Dave has just arrived at the theater. He's there a little bit early. Their shift started at 5 p.m. He was there at about 4:30, and when he walked into the building, he sees that there are 3 staff members sitting at the front desk talking to each other. And as he walks past, one of them is talking about ghosts inside of the theater, and it immediately piques his interest. And so he walked over to the guy talking about ghosts, and he introduced himself. And it turned out that this guy was a man named Blair Fuller, who was a senior accountant at the theater. And so Dave asked Blair, what are you talking about with ghosts in the theater? Because I provide physical security here, and I've seen some strange things here. I'd just love to hear what you have to say about it. So they head up to the 3rd floor where Blair's office was, and they sit down, and Blair says, okay, I got a doozy for you. This happened to me a couple years ago. I was actually in this office. It was about 9-10 o'clock at night. I was doing some work, and I heard the elevator kick on. Now, the elevator was right outside of his office, and anytime it was on, the engine was really loud. It's really obvious if the elevator was moving around. And so he's doing his accounting work, and he hears that engine kick on. He doesn't think much of it, but then it clicks that he's the only one in the building. And so he kind of looks out the glass window of his office. He had a closed door office with 2 windows looking out into the foyer where there's this elevator, and he looks out, and you can see that the little lights above the elevator showing what floor it's on have lit up, and it's going up. So the elevator was in the basement, and now it's on the 1st floor, 2nd floor, 3rd floor. The door's open and there's no one there. And at this point, Blair says that he wasn't concerned. He figured, okay, maybe there's some maintenance, maybe it's scheduled to do that, who knows. But after a little while, the alarm goes off in the elevator to signify that something is obstructing the door from shutting. And he's looking out the window and he hears this alarm, this like ringing sound going off, but the door isn't shutting. And he's like, there's nothing obstructing the door, why isn't it shutting? And so he leaves his office and he kind of walks over to the elevator, and he walks into the elevator. And he said immediately he felt this massive drop in temperature inside of the elevator. And as he's standing there, he turns around. Now he's looking back towards his office inside of the elevator. The doors start to shut. And for whatever reason, he said, I didn't get off. I just decided I'm going to ride this elevator. The basement button lights up as if someone had pressed basement. And they start going down. And he's sitting there thinking, what in the world is going on? It was just on an alarm because the door wasn't shutting. And then miraculously, when I go inside of it, it suddenly works again, and it's going to the basement. So he goes to the basement, the door opens, there's no one there. He steps out and Blair says that it took all of his courage to yell out, "Hey, is anyone down here?" And as soon as he did and he didn't hear a response, he said he didn't want to make any more sound. The elevator sat in the middle of the hall in the basement. It's that huge hall with that piano sitting right in the middle. The lights are off. And he pokes his head down one way, there's nothing down there. He sees the piano barely from the light of the elevator. And he looks down the other way, there's no one there. And at this point, he's just so spooked, he just gets back in the elevator and he hits floor 3, floor 3, floor 3. And he's hitting like door closed, door closed, door closed. The door closes and he goes back up to his office. He goes into his office and he shuts the door and he sits down and he's thinking like, what was that? Why did that just happen? I gotta find out if they're running maintenance or something. And as he's sitting in his chair thinking about this strange experience, he hears what sounds like banging sounds coming from outside of his office in that foyer near the elevator. He just goes to his door and he opens it up and he pokes his head into the foyer and he looks to the side and there's this big filing cabinet and all of the cabinets are out. They've all been pulled out. He certainly didn't do this. And it was as if someone was one by one pushing each of them shut, these big heavy cabinets. And he's watching as one by one these things are slamming shut. One by one until the whole thing is shut. And so he goes over and he's like trying to disprove what he just saw, that he can open up a drawer and that it will shut on its own. But none of them shut on their own. You have to shut it. Something has to shut it for it to shut. And so he packed up for the day and left and did not work another night shift at the theater. Later that night, Dave would share Blair's story with Morgan. He wasn't really sure how Morgan was going to react, but Morgan actually would open up and he would say, you know, before you started working here, I always felt like I was being watched when I was here. And then we had that experience, obviously, where the lights are coming on and you heard that banging from that bathroom door. And then just a few days ago, I heard voices coming from the hall and I heard someone coughing in the basement and I smelled smoke and there was no one there. And so they start going back and forth, exchanging stories of just how uncomfortable this place made them feel. And so they're wondering what they should do about this. And Dave has this idea. He's like, my best friend, I'll invite him to come over here one night and we'll tell him that we're giving him a tour of the building and we'll just see what he says. We'll see if he reacts to anything here. Who knows? You know, maybe something strange will happen and then we'll have another person validate it. Morgan thinks that's a good idea, and so Dave reaches out to his best friend, Greg. Greg would say that he was a little bit surprised to be getting this offer to come take a tour of the theater, but he was interested, and since Dave was asking, he figured he would oblige him, and so Greg agrees to come to the theater and take a tour. So the next day, Dave and Morgan are at the theater, and Greg shows up, and so they start this tour, they go in the main auditorium, they're looking around, and they make their way into the basement. Morgan turns on the light, and Morgan and Dave instantly see, a little ways down the hall on the left, one of the doors has been opened. And so Dave and Morgan push Greg out of the way, they draw their pistols, and they're aimed at the open door. And so Greg just stays behind them as Morgan and Dave make their way down to this open door. And when they get right outside the door and they're about to push it open to go inside, the door slams shut right in front of Greg and Dave and Morgan. And they all are looking at each other like, what's going on? But before they can do anything, the door handle starts rattling really aggressively. After the rattling stops, Dave and Morgan look at each other and they nod their head like, we gotta go in there. Greg is scared about being out in the hall alone, and so he just follows them in. And so the three of them go into this room. Dave and Morgan are, pistols drawn. It's a small room. There's no one in there. Light switch on, no one in there. Greg suddenly gasps and he points to the corner and he says, someone's sitting in the corner. And Dave and Morgan immediately train their guns on what's in the corner, but no one's there. And Greg's like, I just saw someone sitting in the corner. It looked like he had a hood on, he had like a sweatshirt on, I don't know, but he was right there. And so Dave and Morgan, they're freaked out because they brought Greg here on some level to disprove the strangeness. And now the three of them have seen a door slam that shouldn't have been open in the first place. Greg's claiming to have seen a figure sitting in the corner. This scared the crap out of all three of them. They quickly left, locked, shut off the lights, went upstairs. Greg's like, I'm out of here. Greg leaves. And Dave and Morgan are like, now what? So at this point, all the strangeness that was happening in the theater was getting reported, but it was being reported in a way that Dave and Morgan didn't seem like they were referencing something haunted, but rather someone was breaking in. Ultimately, the county installed new cameras inside of the theater. These updated cameras had infrared technology, which allowed them to see better when the lights were on. They were hoping that this would allow them to catch whoever was breaking in practically every time Dave and Morgan are on shift. So on the day that it was installed, September 15th, Morgan is working there alone. And he's sitting in the control room looking at the different cameras, And he's kind of playing around with the different screens and seeing what each of the cameras can do. And at some point, something catches his eye in one of the screens. In the main auditorium, it appeared like someone might be sitting in one of the seats, but the camera was zoomed back enough that he couldn't get a clear picture, and he didn't know what was normal in any of these cameras, because this is the first time he's looking at any of these screens. And so he's looking at the camera really closely, and he thinks he sees someone, he can't really tell, that has a hood on or a shroud on that's just sitting in the middle of the theater. And it starts turning its head like this. And he can see clear as day a set of eyes. And before Morgan has a chance to do it, it just starts raising into the ceiling and disappears. Morgan didn't even check to see what it was. He was done. He literally quit that day. That was his last day at the theater. A couple of weeks after Morgan has quit and Dave is working alone at the theater, he's in the control room, and all of a sudden he hears a piano playing. And there's only one piano in the entire theater, and it's sitting in the basement. It's his job to protect this place, so he knows he has to go down and check, because it could be some hooligan in the building somewhere. So he leaves the control room, and as he starts walking over to the stairs with his gun drawn, the music is getting louder and louder, the piano is getting louder and louder and louder. He makes his way down the steps, and as he's about to turn the corner, he hears the guard that protects the keys on the piano slam shut, and the piano stops. Then he turns around the corner and he looks, and there's no one down there. He flips on the light, no one's in the hall. He knows he's not going to find anyone down here. It's this entity that's causing all this mayhem inside of the theater. Dave's seen enough. He's done. He is done with this theater, and he goes right back upstairs. He goes in the control room, locks it, stays there till the end of his shift, and then he is out. And the next day, he goes to his sergeant and he says, "You can't ever put me back inside that theater or I will quit." And so sure enough, he was transferred. Over the next 2 months, they didn't have anyone who could do full-time security at the theater. So different random officers would be there for a couple hours, a couple of days a week, until November 26th. They found another officer, a veteran police officer named Josh Thomas, who was going to be working at the theater full-time. On November 26th, the first night that Josh Thomas was going to be there, he didn't have anyone to turn over with, so he was just alone at the theater. And it just so happens that Dave is in a patrol car near the theater. When at some point in the night, Josh comes over the radio and says, "Hey, I need backup right now. Someone has broken into the theater." Dave knows that it's probably not someone breaking in. He knows what's going on inside that theater. He was the closest to it, and even though he did not want to go, he felt like it was his responsibility to go to that theater and be Josh's backup. And if it was what Dave thought it would be, this entity in the theater, that he would be able to explain to him what he had seen before he ultimately decided never to go back. And when Dave gets to the theater, there's this back door that they would go into, and he sees Josh is standing just outside the theater. And Dave would say that Josh's eyes were, like saucers. He looked terrified. And so Dave has an inkling of what's going on, and he goes over to Josh and he's like, "What's going on? Is someone still in there?" He said that he had been doing security rounds, and he had heard what sounded like voices when he was in the basement, and he didn't think much of it. He checked all the rooms, everything was shut. And when he made his way up to the third floor, he saw that the elevator had kicked on. It was in the basement, and suddenly the light was on, and it was whirring up to the third floor. And when the elevator opened up, there was no one there. And he's standing there looking at it, and he looks inside, there's no one there, and then the alarm goes off. That's when he called in for backup. Dave says, "Look, let's just go search the building, we'll do it together." They clear the whole theater, no one's there. And before Dave leaves, they go into the main auditorium where the stage is, and they're just standing on the stage, chatting with each other. And Dave, his back is to where the audience would be. And Josh is facing Dave, facing towards the seats. Josh just suddenly stopped. Mid-sentence, he's just frozen and looking just beyond Dave's shoulder. And Dave goes, "What?" And Josh goes, "There's something behind you." Dave slowly turns around, and as soon as he does, he can tell immediately what Josh is looking at. Standing in the very back of the theater away from them is a man standing in the corner with its hands by its sides. Its back is to them, and it's looking down with a hood over its head. Dave turns his whole body around to look at this thing right as this thing turns around real quick and looks directly at them. It has these deep, dark, sunken eyes, and its face looks like it had been very badly burned, like it was black and charred. And it's looking at them before it just turns and runs out the back of the theater. Josh believed that that was an intruder. Dave was fairly certain that that was just another example of this entity that haunts the theater. But they would search the building and they could never find that cloaked figure again. And that was when Dave sat Josh down in the control room and he filled him in on why Morgan had quit and why he ultimately had quit. And he also told him the story from Blair. So Josh is like, great, I'm glad I work here now. This was the last time that Dave would go to the theater. But Dave would do some additional digging on the history of the theater. It would turn out that in the 40s there was this horrible fire and a man had been trapped in the basement when the fire had erupted. And he had died inside of the theater. And so Dave would share this information with Morgan and with Josh, and the three of them all believed that what they were witnessing was the ghost of that man who died in that fire. On the morning of November 13th, 1974, 6 members of the DeFeo family were asleep in their home in Amityville, New York. The 7th member of the family, Ron, was sitting on his bed in the basement. At around 1 a.m., he gets up off his bed, he grabs a rifle, and he starts walking up the stairs. He goes across the first floor, goes up the second floor stairs, and he gets to the second floor landing, and he walks right into his parents' bedroom, which was totally dark besides this little candle that had been lit next to his father's bedside. And he raises his rifle and he puts 2 rounds into his father's back. And then as soon as his father is still, he aims at his mother and he shoots her 2 times. And then he puts the gun down and he walks out and he goes across the hall into his brother's room. He raises his rifle and he fires 1 shot into his 12-year-old brother Mark, and then he aims at his 9-year-old brother John and he fires 1 shot into him as well. Then he leaves their bedroom and he walks down the hall to another bedroom where he finds his 13-year-old sister Allison. He raises his rifle and he fires 1 shot. He leaves her room, he goes up the 3rd set of stairs up onto the 3rd floor, finds his 18-year-old sister Dawn, and he fires 1 shot into her, and then he was done. Altogether, it took Ron about 15 minutes to massacre his family. At no point was he panicked or running around or acting crazy. He was just walking calmly room to room, taking very well-aimed shots to ensure they didn't get up again. He put the rifle down and he went outside and he jogged to a bar where he went inside and he put on this big facade that he had just found his family and they were hurt and could you come help him? And when they got to the house, he refused to go inside, but the people from the bar went inside and they discovered this horrible scene. And when the police show up, Ron goes over to them and he actually confesses and says, "I killed my family." Even though the DeFeo family had a reputation for being very dysfunctional, it was Ron who had the worst reputation. He was known around Amityville for heavy drug use, for being a total alcoholic, and for getting really aggressive and confrontational with people. He was just a guy no one wanted to be around. And so when news got out in Amityville that this horrible thing has happened, and it looks like Ron is the one who did it, no one was really that shocked. But when details of the crime scene, specifically the way the bodies were positioned, made people wonder, is there more to this case that we don't know about? All of the DeFeo family members had been found lying face down in their beds, and none of them showed any signs of putting up a struggle against their attacker, which led investigators initially to think that they must have been sedated, that Ron must have drugged them somehow before he carried out this attack. But when the toxicology reports came back, no one in the family had any substance in their system. At first, the police did not think that was a very big deal. They figured, you know what? The family just must not have heard the different gunshots. He wasn't shooting lots of rounds. It was, 1 single round here, 1 single round here, that perhaps they just didn't hear it, and that's why no one tried to escape. But it turns out the rifle Ron was using, the .35 caliber Marlin, is one of the loudest rifles you can own. And in fact, investigators went out and did a test with it, and they fired it indoors, and you could easily hear it a mile away. And so investigators said, well, then it looks like they must have heard these gunshots, but for some reason didn't get out of their beds. They didn't try to fight back in any way. They just kind of took it. And then you have the weirdness of Ron's confession. On the night of the attack, when Ron is sitting on his bed and he can't sleep and everybody else is asleep upstairs, he starts hearing a voice in his head that's saying, "Catch them, kill them." He thinks he's just losing his mind. But then out of the shadows, straight across from him, from underneath the steps in the basement, this shadowy figure emerges and starts walking towards him, and he can see what looks like its mouth moving and saying the words, "Catch them, kill them." And Ron's looking up at it as this figure walks all the way up to him and bends down and gets right next to his ear, and he says right into his ear, "Catch them, kill them." And then Ron said, involuntarily, he reached over to the rifle that was on the bed with him, and he stood up and he began walking towards the steps. And he knew what was going to happen. He was going to go kill his family, and he didn't want to do it. but he felt like he didn't have any more control over his body, and that's when he realized he was being possessed by this demon in the basement. While Ron's confession terrified everybody in Amityville, the idea that there was a demon living in the basement of this house that possessed someone to go kill their family, I mean, that terrified everybody, but it didn't hold up in court, and ultimately Ron was sent to jail for life. 1 year after the attacks, another family, the Lutz family, moved into the house in Amityville, but they left 28 days later because they were hearing voices coming from the basement. After hearing about the mass murder that occurred in the house, and now the Lutz family saying there's something in the basement, world-renowned demonologists Ed and Lorraine Warren, they descend on the property, and very quickly Ed and Lorraine say, yes, this house is definitely haunted. And in fact, to this day, the Amityville house is considered one of the most haunted places in the entire world. But while Ed and Lorraine were there, they took a very famous picture. Lorraine was walking around the second floor near where the brothers' room was, and she was snapping pictures, and the only people in the house at the time these pictures were being taken were her and her husband, Ed. Here is the picture that she took on the second floor. She claims this boy standing on the left side of the picture is the ghost of John DeFeo. Today the house still stands, and it's been bought and sold a number of times over the years because apparently no one likes to live in this house for a very long time.
And now, a clip from the newest episode of Wartime Stories. Enjoy.
Welcome to the smoke pit. In the military, the smoke pit is simply any odd place that service members will gather to have a smoke, a drink with their buddies, or just hang around to swap stories. And sometimes these stories are about experiences that the individual sharing doesn't really expect anyone to believe, possibly because even they themselves have a hard time believing it or making sense of it, or otherwise because, well, nobody likes to be laughed at or thought to be crazy. But since they feel the need to get it off their chest, the smoke pit is where these kinds of stories often circulate.
Well, my friends, it's getting to that point where I may soon be replaced fully by AI. Right now, you don't need to fear this is the real Charles, birthed from my mother's womb thanks to my father's seed, and you can know this for sure because my hair is wet, meaning I showered. You won't find a single AI Charlie that looks anything close to bathed. Still don't believe me? Then explain this. AI can't imitate that move. I could do any captcha you throw at me. This is flesh, blood, and a 5'6" soul. But there has been a huge influx of AI moist critical videos that have been hitting YouTube and TikTok, and I gotta tell ya, they're doing me better than I do. I first noticed it making waves with a channel called Happy Showtime, where it was still kind of new, developing AI moist technology. So you could still tell that it wasn't really me, if you had a keen eye. I, Charlie, the great inventor, have created the future of fun. A man just offered to buy my house. He told me I am sitting on the largest milk deposit on the entire planet. I told that moron to go take a hike. Everybody knows milk comes from cows, not out of the ground. I just found out that I died 25 years ago. I am apparently a terrifying vengeance-seeking Japanese spirit woman. Wanna see? Prepare to gaze upon the horrifying face of revenge. Ooh, I just discovered I am a Vegas casino slot machine, so pull my arm and see if Lady Luck is on your side. I know this is far from the first time someone's made AI videos like this of me, but these started to make a big splash. Now the first one, you can tell I transformed into a totally different person. I looked like an old Blockbuster employee that you would have bought weed from back in the late 90s. And there's quite a few of these from Happy Happy Showtime. And after that one started to pop off a little bit, a TikTok page called AI Shenanigans started to get a little rambunctious and go hog wild with some moist AI. And these are unreal. I haven't seen AI videos of me like this before, and I was pretty stunned. In fact, Windigoon was the one who actually told me about this page because he watched a few of them. These are masterworks. This is what Michelangelo was striving to create. This was the artistic glory he envisioned. The Sistine Chapel, all that, just prototypes. Trying his best to reach this level, this magnum opus, the moist AI Shenanigans videos. It's spectacular. They should be fucking displayed in the Louvre Museum. Or the Louvre, however you say it. I actually can't remember the proper pronunciation. I've decided to fill my room with galaxy gas. This guy looks like if my cat here took a big shit on a painting. Oh, a fucking alien robot just invaded me. This situation reminds me of that one time what the hell? So I've recently installed a trampoline into my setup. The galaxy gas just kicked in, what the fuck? Beautiful. I don't know why the AI thinks jumping on a trampoline is a painful experience. When AI Charlie there was bouncing around, the face I was making looked like I ate 500 warheads. I don't know what the AI thinks happens when you jump on a trampoline, but it's not that. That shit there looked like something Jack Bauer would have done to a terrorist to get information out of them. Also, that motorcycle transformation was unironically hard. It wasn't like a Transformers moment where I became a motorcycle. Me going from here to riding a motorcycle was actually unbelievable. That's exactly what I imagine it would look like if I had a dream of me riding a motorcycle. Like just going from like sitting here yapping about nonsense about like, you know, the poop that took a pee or whatever, and then all of a sudden, bang, I'm now scooting around on a Harley or something. That was so cool. And I know that this isn't like unique to the AI Shenanigans, moist AI, whatever, or anything. I've seen this quite a bit for like extending memes or turning a meme into like a whole like minute-long thing that never actually happened. And it gets so trippy and surreal. It is just so interesting to see how AI plays with that. Bring to the pen, to the king, where's my crown, that's why I blame. This reminds me of, Little did you know I actually have a secret weapon here. It's, fuck. I am the lord of the cockroaches. These were the standout moments for me of part 2 here. These were the highlights I'd like to talk about briefly. I think it was like a kick that made me fall off my chair with the That was so good. That actually sounded like something out of House of the Dead 2. And then the Lord of the Cockroaches scene. That sequence where I had an accent in the AI. I mean, it's not the most convincing accent ever, but I'm not good at them. Like, that is probably how I would sound if I tried to put on an accent. I am the Lord of the Cockroaches. See, like, it's not good. That right there definitely had someone just like fucking cringe up just even hearing me do that. I have never been good at accents. I can do minimal impressions, like Scooby-Doo. Oh, Raggy! Ree! But other than that, that's really about it. I've never been good at accents or anything of the sort. So the AI fucking crushed that. I'm actively searching for beer bottles. This Lunchly situation reminds me of that one time I got skid marks. Go the fuck away. Let me morph into my ultimate being. Some of you may think of me as this normal person, but I actually spy on elderly men. This situation reminds me of... Oh, thanks, cameraman. See, look at that. Cold beer. Have you ever had a Neutron Star cigarette? Yeah, I bet you haven't. I think I made a deal with the wrong person. It's just a hunch, though. I went to Las Vegas today. Yeah, look how much money I made. Yeah. I haven't told anyone yet, but I am actually 9 months pregnant right now. This is fucking stupid. So stupid, I hate this. Dumb, stupid idea. This one is personally my favorite. It's got all the heaters in there. Like, have you ever smoked a Neutron Star cigarette? 9 months pregnant. Like this, a beer bottle coming from the cameraman, which is this you're the cameraman. Like, it's so good. Like, that is a creative journey that you go through right there, with a couple of zingers there, some one-liners that I really like. I will unironically probably adopt the "have you ever smoked a neutron star" line. You'll see me slide that in somewhere over the next week or two, because I was actually laughing pretty hard about that one. But anyway, I just find this trend of like over-the-top silly AI videos to be very entertaining, and this is like a very harmless, fun usage of AI. The only job this is taking is mine. It just goes to really put it in perspective for me that I can be replaced, which I've always said, you know, there's nothing like particularly special about me or anything, but seeing it unfold like this, it's, you know, we could be witnessing the rise of AI Charles, and the human being could be obsolete very soon. And well, I'll cry about that when we reach that road, but for now I'm just kind of smiling and just laughing along with it, because I just had a good giggle at all of it. Perhaps in the future, as this continues to be more and more common, I'll have to find myself using AI to make AI moist videos as well, and try and like maybe write some material for the AI. You know, like no one's gonna want this. They'll want the Charles that can morph into a motorcycle and jump on a trampoline spontaneously while ripping his shirt off and having a 96 pack of abs. Like, that's tough. Or like quadruple X double D titties and honkers and the explosion of milk. Like, that's gonna be tough to compete with, but I'll do my best. But yeah, I just wanted to show these and kind of just talk about them a little bit. Shout out AI Shenanigans and happy showtime. That's about it. See ya.
Today's video is brought to you by Rocket Money. Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever looked at your bill and wondered, whoa, something's not right here? Have you ever looked at the amount of money you have in your bank account and you wondered, whoa, there should be a lot more? And then you open up the little breakdown and you realize, whoa, what's all these subscription services I've got going on? Yeah, sometimes you sub to something and you forget it, or sometimes you're getting billed more than you think you do. And that's where Rocket Money is the personal finance app that helps you cancel your subscriptions, lower your bills, and helps you manage your money better. Ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to safely and securely identifying which bills are recurring and which ones you need to be canceling, Rocket Money comes over there and helps you cancel them literally from within the app if you needed to. But one thing that's even more impressive about this is literally if you send them a photo of your bill and you tap a couple buttons, Rocket Money will literally negotiate the bills for you. That's where Rocket Money can also come in and help you out. Literally something my dad used to ask me to do, I tell him to go to Rocket Money now. Rocket Money has helped save its customers up to $740 a year. And with over $500 million in canceled subscriptions, let's put your bills on top of that too. To save more and spend less, join over 5 million members using Rocket Money today. So go over to rocketmoney.com/ordinarygamers or click the link in the description to get started for free. And you can even unlock even more features with premium as well. That's rocketmoney.com/ordinarygamers to get started for free. That said, let's head over to the video. Hello guys and gals, me Mutahar, and today we're taking a look down the horrific true crime rabbit holes. Now, you might be wondering, Muto, what takes you down a rabbit hole like this? And as somebody that has looked at some of the wildest, some of the creepiest stuff on the internet, I will always say that the scariest stuff is always what human beings do to each other. So today's video is about the Setagaya family murders. So for anybody that doesn't know what this is actually one of the oldest cold cases ever. It's actually a cold case ranging back to the year 2000, where tens of thousands of pieces of evidence have been grabbed. Hundreds of thousands of law enforcement officers have investigated it, and to this day, nobody has actually been captured. And it's a pretty grisly tale where literally the story really is compounded by the fact that the person left behind so much evidence at this point that normally you would expect anyone would catch them. But so far, they've basically lived the rest of their lives and will continue to, unfortunately, in peace. So in order to understand the story for what it really is, you have to go all the way back to the year 2000 and around December 30th to December 31st. So around the, beginning of the new year, most people in Japan expected, yeah, you know what, this is the start of the new millennium. If you lived in Tokyo, however, you probably came across headlines that were talking about a serious case of murder occurring. So around in this location of Tokyo, in this one small suburb in the city. Now this home belonged to Mikio and Yasuko Miyazawa, and of course their daughter, Nina, and their son, Rei, who were literally less than the ages of 10 at the time. Now, this whole family lived pretty much in peace, and around them was, just what you would expect out of any suburban neighborhood, okay? They had a park for children to play at, a skateboard park right over here, and of course, multiple parks. Now, again, this is from current day, but this home remains as a testament to one of Japan's most unsolved murder cases, and one of the cases that the Tokyo Metropolitan Police have poured tons of their time, resources into. Nowadays, if you look at the actual street view for this house, it looks like an ordinary Japanese neighborhood, but again, if you look carefully at the house, what has effectively happened is a whole bunch of barricades have been put up. It's pretty much been kept there in its original condition, right? You can start to see some overgrowth take over. And the reason for those big orange gates is because, unfortunately, children do actually break into places like this. I think 10 high school children broke into it earlier. That's not to say this still isn't an active investigation zone, because it very much is. To this day, Tokyo Metropolitan Police actually want to really solve this case. Now, while footage of this house actually exists, and it was posted by the Asahi Shimbun Company, where they were actually showcasing this house in particular, you can see boxes, you can see the news media kind of covering it, and again, they're in front of a lot of the windows where, things were alleged to be broken into, right? Like the actual assailant had come in. It's a pretty scary scenario. It's a pretty, harrowing footage to watch. And of course, to understand this, there is a map that I found on the internet, and of course somebody machine translated this so you can see a floor plan of the home. The most common account of this, the most widely recounted version, is that at one point during the night between 30th and 31st of December, so typically the moment between 11:30 p.m. and 12:05 a.m. Japanese Standard Time, so a period of 35 minutes, is when these murders had been alleged to occur. So, according to this entire diagram, what happened was the assailant broke into the second floor of the house. So this small window right over here, and through the small window, they navigated to the first kid's room, where the son, Rei, was first killed by actual strangulation. Now, of course, at one point, going downstairs, the husband, Mikio, was then murdered, and this is where, obviously there was a bit of a, I guess you could say, a resistance. The actual death in this case was stabbing, and of course, at one point, a part of a sashimi knife was literally lodged into Mikio's skull. So the mom and the daughter were staying apparently in the attic, to where they were actually met up with, attacked with the broken knife, the sashimi knife, and as they were escaping, or at least moving towards the second floor, they were then fatally killed in this situation. So 3 people were murdered by a stabbing, and 1 person, the son, was killed by a strangulation. So a truly grisly set of murders had occurred in this scenario, and what had happened after is where the story really gets insane, where the rabbit hole really gets wild. Now, according to the Japanese Metropolitan Police investigation, the actual assailant, who still to this day has remained unknown because it's a cold case, literally was in the house for apparently several hours before disappearing. I mean, we're talking so much evidence that he had left behind his fecal matter, to where the law enforcement literally were able to grab what they had eaten out of that fecal matter. The guy took a shit in the toilet of this household and did not flush it. According to Japan Today, the police forensic team that combed through the Miyazawa house found that the killer had left behind so many clues, and his apprehension was likely to be just a matter of time. The police went so far as to determine what the killer had eaten in the previous meal, something containing string beans and sesame seeds, known because he stayed around long enough to use the Miyazawa's toilet to have a bowel movement. So yeah, it's one of these scenarios where people were able to identify, the law enforcement were able to look, this guy left behind evidence, and that wasn't just the worst part. He had left behind a whole set of clothes that law enforcement to this day still share in their actual write-ups of this case. So one of the actual posts from the actual Tokyo Metropolitan Police's flyer that you can view right now literally talks about the murder and robbery of a family of 4 in Setagaya. So police are still looking for the killer. So what they had said was the murders occurred just before the new year on the night of December 30th, 2000, at the residence of the Miyazawa family in 2326 Kami Shoshigaya 3 Chome. So as they describe who was murdered, literally it was this family that, literally looked like they were just a standard howdy-doody suburban family. And of course, this is an image of what their house would look like. I assume because of the quality of this imagery, what it looked like on the day of, or like around that time period. Of course, these are aerial photography pieces from December 30th, 2000, where you can see, the parks, and you can see the skate park, you can see the various parks. It was literally like their house was just like the sole house in that area, right? Everyone else is like all suburbanized in this area, but these guys just have their whole area. I mean, shit, they literally live right next to this like big baseball diamond. It's crazy. So literally to this day, they have a current reward of 20 million yen. So again, if you have any actual evidence that could assist the Japanese police, and again, this would be to my audience in Japan that probably have known about this stuff back in the year 2000, so I would probably say, not a good chance. You can earn up to $20 million and put 20 million yen and put somebody behind serious bars. So according to this situation, the killer left behind a lot of things on the scene. So what the police were able to say was the killer was relatively young, based on the clothing, around 170 centimeters tall, wore large sized clothes, wore a pair of 27.5 centimeter sized shoes, and then of course was slim and was probably right-handed. So based on the blood stains taken from the scene, yes, there was blood actual evidence, the killer is a male, the blood type is type A, and he probably injured his hand during the commission of the murder, but the wounds may have disappeared by now. His body shape may have also changed over time. So the evidence that he left behind was, for instance, this whole getup right over here. I mean, literally he left behind an entire set of clothing and a full-on like fanny pack. So if you look carefully, the hat over here, they were able to identify that a total of this hat in particular, 3,465 of this kind were on sale nationwide between July 1998 and November 2000, and were sold for around 1,900 yen. So based on the seal tag, it's believed that this hat was sold after September 21st, 1999. So they had kind of an idea about the general like destination of sale, they had an idea of when it would have been sold, and of course then they looked at the jacket, for instance, over here, where they traced it to Uniqlo direct run stores, and of course they've got a muffler and a scarf. So again, they said the information on the manufacturer, retails have not been obtained, as there was no tag. It is 130 centimeters by 30 centimeters, acrylic made, and green base with red, black, orange, dark green checks. They've got a pair of gloves, they've got shoes, and then they've got a hip bag, handkerchiefs, Dracar Noir perfume, and of course a kitchen knife sold under the trade name of Seki Magoroku Ginju. A total of 1,500 sushimi knives of this kind were manufactured in the Fukui prefecture in June 2000, and they were sold for around 3,500 yen each in 46 outlets in the Kanto region. So just based off of these items alone, the reason I'm getting so verbose like the police is you would think that somebody would be able to track down, maybe a buyer for some of these specific articles of clothing and items at some point. But no one ever did. I mean, people were able to apparently go into the hip bag and found sand that was traced back to Edwards Air Force Base in California, and of course a skate park in Japan, where Mikio had apparently been arguing with skateboarders near the house. So that one skate park that I showed you towards the beginning when we were doing the flyover of their actual home. I mean, there is so much evidence that is present over here that one immediately thinks, why couldn't they find the guy? And of course, if you go back to the actual police docket, you can see that, again, one of the items they specifically pull out is a shirt. So they point out that the stores that sold the same type of sweatshirt used by the killers have been identified. Do you know anyone who might have bought this sweatshirt? So then they show this photo of a shirt with like white, the white core and the purple arms. And they said that at some point it was sold between August 2000 and December 2000. It was sold to Marufuru Corporation, whose stores are unfortunately currently closed. And of course, they go on the colors, the size. They even find 130 pieces sold. Purchasers for 12 of those have actually been identified. I mean, that's how cold this case has gotten, where we're looking at the purchase records of these shirts and trying to identify who it could be based off of that. I mean, they were able to identify sales in actual regions, like down to the specific count. That's how far this investigation had gone. Because like I said, hundreds of thousands, I think it was like 244,000 plus police officers and investigators actually touched this story at one point. They even brought up this one Buddhist statue, the Ojizo-san, which was found on the opposite side of the river that was, around their house. And of course, the Senkawa River, which again, it is not known whether someone placed it with good intentions, or the killer, or someone close to the killer placed it there. We are looking for information on manufacture, import, and sales of this Ojizo-san. So again, everything that the Japanese police are going towards, they're trying to look up for everything that they can find in this story. I mean, they even provided a TV schedule of things between 9 p.m. to 11 a.m. between December 30th and December 31st, okay? Does this remind you of anything strange? And again, it's all what the Japanese police or the Tokyo police have really tried to put out in order to find this one killer. Now, one thing the Tokyo Metropolitan Police will proudly say is, no matter what, the department will never give up until this case is solved, because it caused such a national fervor and an international fervor because of the weird, complex nature of it. So again, even looking further into this, beyond all of it, the police had even come across not just the actual contents of what this person ate in their fecal matter. They looked through the blood, but they also identified some of the items were purchased in a local region. So the entire night of the murder, it was estimated that the guy had remained in the house for either a period of 2 or maybe 10 hours. And the reason they had figured this out was apparently the family computer had connected to the internet at one point. Now, after the murders, the assailant literally was in the house. He drank around 4 bottles of barley tea, had some melon, ate some of the ice cream around, literally also used the toilet, which is how the fecal matter was left behind because they never flushed their feces down. And of course, they also literally used the first aid kits and, sanitary septic products in order to treat a wound that they apparently had. The wound that I would assume would be on one of the hands. So they even apparently may have taken a nap at some point on one of the sofas in the second floor living room. Now, whether this is true or not, it's really hard to figure out. And there's plenty of podcasts that are available that kind of touch upon this a little bit. One of them notably being the Faceless podcast, which is literally several episodes that cover this entire situation, right? This grisly case. Now, the reason why people were kind of looking at how long they stayed in the house was because of the times that, Mikio's computer had connected to the internet. So in this entire situation, the killer was lingering at the crime scene, and according to the police at the time, he surfed the internet on Miyazawa's computer. And also, again, alongside raiding their fridge for the barley tea and the ice cream and shitting in their toilet, he was at the place, right? And he left behind, again, not just his fingerprints, but also DNA in the form of blood and feces. And of course, shoe prints and those personal items. So because of all of this evidence, law enforcement thinks, sure, maybe we're going to get a catch. But what they didn't have at the time, apparently, was witnesses. And I believe there were only about 2 witnesses out there. So in this one article from Medium, on Medium that I saw, where they talked about the Sedagai family murder, they had said, again, witnesses weren't really spotted. They actually only had 2 sightings of this guy after the kill. The first one apparently came from a woman who claimed that she was near the crime scene driving a vehicle, sometime after 11:30. Suddenly, she spotted a man who rushed out of the Miyazawa's house neighborhood and jumped before her car. He managed to evade her vehicle and ran away. That information was then dismissed by the police since they didn't find any signs of blood on the street. So from this one article in 2020, they actually went over an account of an individual that had spotted a man near one of the actual stations at Nikko City, Tochigi Prefecture. So there was an investigation where, again, the evening after the incident, a station employee was hand-assuming a man, again, this is a machine translation, who had a hand injury at the Higashikoku station in Nikko City, Tochigi Prefecture. However, I can't shed blood and take the train. The investigation was postponed, and about 10 months after the investigators went to the site, the man who received the bruise had not yet been identified. So a former investigator who is a member of the Special Search Headquarters said, "We are most afraid that humans who listen to us and decide that they are not criminals will be arrested later. I made it clear it is possible that field investigators would not have overlooked the criminal if they took this time, even a fingerprint." So yeah, there's a lot to criticize with the Japanese police, but nobody really expected a case that had all this evidence to not eventually be a slam dunk. It really was the fact that after all this evidence, nobody was able to identify or see any shady activity. There was no eyewitnesses to work off of. And the ones that existed, unfortunately, their accounts had to be, completely ignored, because once the police had tried to compare it to the evidence they had, It just didn't make any sense, as we talked about with the woman at the very beginning, the first account. In 2015, one of the actual relatives of the family members, the mom that was slayed in this situation, Irie, actually ended up jumping in and actually filed a complaint against the nation's TV watchdog, claiming that TVSI's program, their documentary on that unsolved case, actually misrepresented her. See, what they had actually said was they brought a former member of the United States Federal Bureau of Investigation to find, who the suspect could be through the use of careful profiling, right? So what profiling is, just for a quick understanding for anybody that doesn't know, is a method the FBI has created to detect and classify major personality and characteristics that behavior is shown for individuals, basically upon analyzing the crime. Like if you look at what has happened in a crime, an FBI profiler's job is to kind of figure out who that person could be based on their behaviors and patterns, and then cross-reference that with people who exhibit those behaviors or patterns. And one thing that they use this profiling for is to figure out what a possible motive can be. So according to the actual complaint, the program employed staging, editing, and other means to misrepresent her as supporting the former investigator's view that the family was murdered by an acquaintance bearing a strong feeling of resentment. And there's no evidence that actually proves any motive make any sense. Now, if you go back to the actual murder, what actually got stolen even, right? So according to the actual motive of theft over here, when it looked around for money, it seemed like the money wasn't really something that this assailant was going after, because there was a point where around $2,000 was found at the actual home. And I think it was something like $1,500 were actually stolen from the actual home at any given moment, right? So if the killer wanted money, they really didn't run away with much to make 4 murders make any sense financially. Not that it ever could, but that's one of the things people had brought up. Now, could it have been somebody that, Mikio had pissed off? Well, there were actually people that thought maybe skateboarders were, somebody that could have been a case. This is, again, from 2019 when discussing the situation on ABC, where, people had wondered, would it have been a disgruntled skater, for instance? One avenue of investigation looked at whether Mikio had been seen arguing with skaters at a nearby park in the lead up to the murders. The killer's clothing and suspected age, which at the time was around 18 to 45, and that got revised to 18 to 35, and I think now it's 18 to 24. It literally could have been a disgruntled skater tired of his constant noise complaints who decided, I'm going to kill a family, right? I mean, it's kind of out there and outlandish, and again, there's no real proper evidence to corroborate that, but it was one of the theories that was brought up. I don't personally think that is true whatsoever, but money didn't get stolen, and it didn't really seem like anybody did it out of foul play, meaning that it wasn't he pissed off somebody, and that's what it came out to. Now, it was a senseless murder with no real understanding of any kind of real motive. So it added extra wonder, because without a motive, then you really don't know how to pin it on somebody at all, right? You have to understand why somebody would go through that and murder an entire family. If you've got no motive, it makes this already troubling case even more troubling to figure out. But again, there was one other bombshell that blew people away. In 2014, it came out that the family's killer might have even left home at night. See, that range I gave you, they left the house between 2 a.m. to 10 a.m., was one of those things where law enforcement literally based it off of the internet activity of Mikio's computer. So at some point early on in the morning, around 10 o'clock, the computer had connected to the internet, which may have signified that maybe the killer had used it once again, they spent the entire night out of their house, which again wouldn't make any sense from a murder perspective. You would think somebody would leave in the cover of the night, but why would they leave in the morning? Well, this is where the actual Tokyo police investigated again. So according to the Metropolitan Police, they were assuming that, again, this is one of those situations where maybe the computer was used in the morning, but what they had found was that the computer's mouse was fallen off the desk. And the machine's event log showed that the second online connection had been terminated after about 4 minutes, without a different website being accessed. So going back to that one Medium article where they also looked into this, they had said that what they know for sure is the criminal who was at the house at around 1 a.m., at 1:18 they connected to the internet using Mikio's computer. And during 5 minutes of usage, they created a new folder and visited a theater's website. The site was bookmarked by Mikio, and they don't know their later whereabouts. For years, the public was meant to believe the perpetrator escaped in the morning due to the computer connecting to the internet for a second time around 10 a.m. And of course, it's literally until 2014 when I showed you that big bombshell that apparently the computer mouse that was found by the police had fallen under the table and connected to Mikio's company's website, which was set as Mikio's homepage. So the Japanese cops ran an experiment using the exact type of Macintosh computer that the Miyazawa family had used, and they concluded the most probable outcome was Yasuko's mother dropping a mouse by accident when she found the bodies and therefore connecting to the internet. Now, this is kind of a little tough for me to understand, because if she came to the house at 10:40 and the internet logs are around 10 a.m., then it doesn't make sense. Like, you know, did a gust of wind maybe come in? And it seems kind of, I'm not saying that it's, you know, it can't happen, but it seems pretty outlandish that if you dropped a mouse right now on like a surface, it would also tap that left mouse button, and your mouse would conveniently also be located. Like, it would have to be placed literally on top of like your internet browsing software just so it can launch and connect to the home page site. That is super weird to me, and I don't really understand how the Japanese police went to it, and understanding how this works, especially in a case that is locked behind a language barrier, makes it a little bit more frustrating, at least for me, to get down into. So at this point, people started to wonder about the actual case, right? Now I'm going to kind of go into one of the actual I'm going to go through one of the things in my mind that immediately hit me. Because of that, pack that had the dust from California, it made me wonder if there possibly was a soldier or something of that nature, maybe like an army brat kid, with like an American parent that possibly lived in that area or possibly had committed these murders. Because I think having like a pack with dust that belonged to California is kind of a pretty big thing to be looking at, right? Like, I wouldn't think that that's just circumstantial evidence. If you find literal patterns of dirt from another country, literally across the ocean, that should make you kind of wonder. Maybe the killer at one point went to America. Maybe they came back. I feel like these are things that the police could use to isolate down. So I started to look up local air bases, and I found one known as the Yokota Air Force Base, which is this JSDF base, and of course the US Air Force Base, and of course the Tama area of Western Tokyo. So it has been active since 1940 to this day. So it literally matches the time period. And if you bring up the actual map over here, Yokota Air Force Base is literally about 1 hour and 9 minutes from the actual home itself. I'm not saying that obviously the killer went back here, but I would probably start looking into the Air Force bases, especially if I found that dirt from California might have been on somebody. I'm not saying that some serviceman did it. I'm wondering if there might have been a kid that would have been involved. And the reason I'm going into it is that the blood analysis that the law enforcement was checking might have indicated that the person might have had genetics, or maybe, they might have actually had genetics outside of Japan. So let's look at that. Now, I don't want to, again, just keep going on to this point, but obviously this is serious speculation on my end, but the reason I would look at the Air Force Base is, again, just having dust from the United States, or California at least, recorded should be one of the reasons why at least Tokyo Metropolitan Police could question anybody related to these air bases. And I think with the amount of actual record keeping they have, maybe it is worth going down this lead. They probably already have tried this, and it maybe just come out completely inconclusive. But yeah, it's just one of the theories that I had, with nothing to really go off of. Maybe there could be somebody related to the army over here, or somebody that might have actually been close to it. That's just based off of that dust information. I think it's too wild of a coincidence to just completely ignore. I mean, this whole story to this day, when you look at it, right, this is just one from 2channel, or one blog, an actual chan from Japan, where they're talking about this house in the year 2021. It's a huge piece of cultural history for Japan, unfortunately. It's kind of like the Zodiac Killer for them. It's a serious cold case that has drawn the ire of national attention and international attention that hasn't been solved. So going back to the whole Medium article over here, where they kind of go into it, they talk about, again, the idea that they had fingerprints, footprints, and again, blood-stained towels, which showed that the person had an A blood type. So again, 5 million people had their fingerprints checked in this entire story. Neighbors, all kinds of criminals, family friends, ex-residents, hospital patients with wounds on their hands, and they literally tried DNA testing with 1.3 million actual tries. And according to this article, all of them have failed. None of those matches came out to be true. But when they looked into it, in 2005, they announced that the perpetrator, the police, said that they most likely had Southern European roots from their mother's side, based on, again, genetic patterns and markers picked up in the blood and the DNA evidence. So again, When they started looking more into it, right, the father was possibly an East Asian individual. Someone that could have been Korean or maybe Chinese. So according to this, Japanese police asked South Korea for help with identifying the culprit. And it was one of the first requests of its kind, and it was refused by the South Korean government. Now, this is one of those things that makes me wonder too. Now, I don't know about the idea of Japanese and South Korean relations. I'm sure that there's tension in between them if you read their geopolitics. But Korea, as far as law enforcement has gone, South Korea and Japan, from my understanding, have helped in plenty of missing persons cases. So again, this is one of those things that also comes out as an oddity for me too. Now again, when you're doing DNA evidence and you're running against registries, if you're not showing up in a registry, chances are the person you're trying to find isn't on a criminal registry anywhere. And it gets even harder when you're dealing with information that possibly could deal with somebody who's not in your country. So at that moment in time, from my understanding, they had to go to Interpol. So based on the Y chromosome, which showed haplogroup OM122, a common haplogroup distributed in East Asian people, so 1 in 4 or 5 Koreans, 1 in 10 Chinese, and 1 in 13 Japanese, this caused the Tokyo Metropolitan Police to go to the Interpol agencies and see if they could hit against their registries, which again, nothing really tapped into there. So that's how this became one of those cold cases that to this day is pretty it's pretty unknown. Like, it's one that hasn't been solved. There's one game that I play called Shadows of Doubt where you literally have to, go to a crime scene as soon as it happens, gather as much evidence as you can, and come to a logical conclusion on who the killer could be, murder weapons, things of that nature. And obviously that's a video game, and this is reality. But in that video game, it really shows you that as you spend more and more time not figuring out the killer, that evidence that exists at a crime scene gets colder and colder and colder. Information that could have been retained even digitally loses its time over. Even if they find the exact store that this person bought that t-shirt we looked at in the beginning, who's to say that store is active? There's definitely no expectation that they would have any CCTV footage, if they even had a security system, to identify that person. And even if you're looking through sales records, because it's over 20 years ago, there's no expectation that any tax agency would even need you to store that information unless there's like a specific law for it. It's just that old of a case. Now, it's not like a case that could have happened now and then in 2040 they could have possibly had some digital fragment of information. Mind you, this is a case in the year 2000 when, people are still getting into the digital age of things. Now, when it comes to this case and its legacy today, even as of March 2024, it was actually this case that brought up the idea for the Japanese Metropolitan Police, the Tokyo Metropolitan Police, that they should literally promote investigations that utilize more DNA information than it does now, such as expanding the database on genetic information in DNA for the early resolution of a lot of these cases. This case was so huge in terms of Japanese-like culture that it literally was a cause célèbre, meaning that it was such a big issue that the controversy that it arose, was one of the big reasons, one of the major reasons, one of the, understandable societal reasons that they had abolished the statute of limitations for crimes that could merit the death penalty in Japan. Now, Japan has a death penalty, and, if you commit a heinous crime like this, you're gonna be fucking hanged. So in this situation, right, you can see other, people, like people who ran the Om Shinrikyo cult, from my understanding, the Aleph cult. One of those, the leaders actually, I think very recently just actually died. Their whole, death penalty finally got delivered to them, thankfully, because of the horrific crimes that they committed. But looking into this story in particular, right, obviously, if somebody hasn't been caught, the statute of limitations might let them get away with a crime as heinous as this. So Japan, literally, in regards to any crime that, could lead with the punishment of, death, they wanted to make sure there really isn't a statute of limitation for that. And honestly, I don't think there should ever be a statute of limitations on crimes as heinous as this. Literally, according to donga.com, they said they campaigned for the abolishment of state of limitations for hideous crimes. Finally, they elicited the revision in 2010 of Japan's laws on criminal procedures, eliminating a 25-year statute of limitations for crimes corresponding to a death penalty. Meaning that the scumbag who did these crimes, who's unfortunately still out at large, maybe even killed other people, is actually an individual that, can in fact go to the death penalty if caught. Now, do I think the Japanese police are going to catch this guy? Honestly, I don't know. All right, wildest things have happened. I mean, literally as of months ago, One of the biggest final remaining drug lords, El Mayo, was literally captured in Texas. A man that eluded any form of photography for literally a decade, 2 decades almost, caught out of nowhere. So honestly, anything can happen. There may be one breakthrough, and there may be one piece of research when it comes to DNA evidence, maybe a new methodology that may shed more light on the situation, and ultimately maybe would close the books on this. But to this day, this remains one of the world's and Japan's most creepy, unsettling mysteries that existed. A killer that not only killed an entire family, but left behind so much evidence and literally stayed in this house for literally hours, it seems. All to just get away without not a single person actually getting a trace of this guy. It's insane shit. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, this is me, Mudahar, and if you like today's video, please like, comment, and subscribe.
Yo, we back. Had to watch some shit there. But now we got us a club party, boys. Oh yeah, club party, and we got a Dark Knight. I think he's a Dark Knight. Yeah, he's got mana. He's a Dark Knight. A Dark Knight with a club. Dual clubs! Let's go, boys! Fucking shit's OP. See what my rampage can do. 641 with an SC. Nice! Big. Turn this shit up. Smack. I don't know, maybe we can keep Madrigal instead of Haste. Yeah, we got 2 fucking clubs! Oh, and we have a ranger using a gun. Jesus Christ, this party's insane. Do we have enough birds? Probably don't have enough birds. Couldn't have said it better myself, dude. Provoke isn't even up by the time we fucking kill it. Oh, we have a white mage, so we don't have haste. We should be getting haste, but... Club is so prolific now, it's great. Everyone's got a club, ski doodle days. Oh, come on, bitch. Really? 8 TP? Motherfucker? Who knows? Maybe it's not as much damage as it is on Dark Knight. But oh well. I mean, we're not hitting 900, that's for sure. It's kind of sad. I think the stun is so nice. That's what I love about Dark Knight. You just, yeah, okay, stun, easy. Just get my shadows back up, no problem. No fucking worries, bros. But yeah, we're killing shit so fast. We're gonna like fucking run out of mobs. But again, I don't know if that's a full hit. I don't know how much TP I get per hit. Attack speed is super fucking slow though. No, there's no semi. So close. Oh, well, didn't get to do it, but that's okay. I'll do it on the next one. I'm like, there's a fucking flamingo right here, dude. Can't have the white mage get too close to that elemental. Are we gonna be able to get it? Nope. We're straight tanking it. Come on, one more hit, one more hit, one more hit. Fuck it up, guys. Throw everything you got at it. Oh, and I fucking missed. Oh, we lost the chain. Suffering from success, we're doing too much damage. No, attack this fucking one. Why would you attack that one, you idiot? Attack the one I already provoked. Oh, when people hit random things. I guess it just really doesn't do a lot of damage against birds. This is like the same damage my Dark Knight would do against like buggards. But at least we're finally in Sky, we're finally using Club. We're finally fucking shit up. That's all that matters. Get Warrior to 75. We'll be good to go. Smashes. Smashes is dude. Good old Halloween candy. Good time of year, boys. It's a good time of year. Oh fuck. Is he gonna die? Go over here. There we go. So I think it's 186 is when we get double attack. Cause that's like, we've been pretty consistent. I'm also not using an equip set, because I don't care. Oh, I'm retarded. Why am I not using... Okay, there we go. That might help. That might help a bit. Infinite hits! Show ass over here. Make sure this red mage is out of distance. Fucking miss. Boo! Ooh, that hurt. 501. Jesus. Nice! Clutched that one. That was scary. We could have been fucked there, boys. This is where it gets scary. Fucking hell. Thank God he missed. We're golden. Just hit him one more time. Or not. Just can't fucking hit him. There we go. Motherfucker. Oh, we lost the chain? What the fuck? How'd we lose the chain? What? That makes no sense. We need the mob here like right away. There's no way it took us a minute to fucking kill that shit. Ow. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna get my ass handed to. Oh, I guess it's a white mage, so it's not that bad. Ow! You still hit me mid fucking Utsusemi? bitch. And now the other bird's going back for him. Struggle of being a bard sometimes when we're just not doing the damage we should be doing. Yes, you just always assist me, please. Just always assist me. Nice. That was clutch. I was not sure we were going to make that. Nice. There we go. We at least got an SC out of it. Wait, I don't have any shadows. Ow. Not as much as it could have done, though. It could have fucked me up. Love the sound of that club hitting. Just feels good to smack him. No, 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 not that one. This one. Sometimes the BT can work against you. We're just fucking destroying these birds. This is great. I just hate this being off by 8 TP. It's brutal. And I just get 500 on that one. Nice. Full hits on the one that's fucking useless. Over 8 TP. At this point, should I just take off the Rajas? But then I'll have to use a fucking swap. Come on. Get over here. Slap him in the face. Smack him. Fully buffed. Ow. This bitch hurts. Of course it would fucking turn to me as soon as I use Utsusemi. Nice. Nice. That was big dick damage. Focusing out. Oh. This is still not up either. Oof. I think he missed. That sucks. Missing slug shot is fucking brutal. That's why I like the fact Rampage is at least a 5-hit weapon skill. You miss a couple of the hits here and there, and still do crazy damage. Same with Decimation. Again, we lost the chain, probably because he missed. Again, 8 TP. Oh man, this is so fucking brutal to be so short every time. I missed my initial hit, but still did good. Nice, nice. Will allow me to get this up. Look at those club hits. Smacking the shit out of this bird. Nice. Instant TP. Yeah, this kind of sucks. It's just always sitting 8 TP low. Like, fuck off. Don't do me like it, bro. Don't do me like it. Try and make sure we're inside this circle at least. So we're not getting too close to that water elemental. Nice. Don't know why we can't maintain the fucking chain though. We'll be killing them so fucking fast. I gotta keep my eye on that next time. Be ready on this one to fuck him up. Nice. Stand a fucking chance. And this is all without haste. No haste songs. No haste. Period. Alright, here we go. How fast are we killing this bitch? Why are my abilities not fucking going off? You cannot see it. What do you fuck you mean I can't see it? It's right fucking there. Idiot. What are you doing? We still got 19, 18 seconds left. Look at that. Easy. Now this might be where we fall off. You can always do a pot. That's what we always fill it with. We're definitely gonna lose this chain. Beat the fuck out of it. Ten seconds. I don't think he's used Soul Eater once. Like, he's a little pussy. He fucking with Soul Eater. Nice. Right, Halloween candy, man. Love this time of year. Again, 8 TP, man. One hit short. One fucking hit short. How dare you? Oh no! Oh no! No, you need to sleep it. No, 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 no. Sleep! Sleep! Alright, we're dropping fucking mighty strikes. We're fucking putting the whole barrel in the bag to fuck them up, see how much damage we can fucking do. What? That was like nothing! 713, that's it? Oh, I'm gonna get smashed now, aren't I? Okay, we got it. Now, as long as no one touched the water elemental, Prof still has to log out. Just put up shadows and fucking log. Oh, he's poisoned. Where is it? Where's my satchel? Antidote. Well. Man, this is brutal. All because he tried to do protect and he ran into the middle of the circle. Shit happens. I'm not gonna do that because I don't want to get I don't want to get resting aggro just in fucking caves. It happens sometimes. It happens, guys. That's why we know exactly what to do. Bard, sleep, log out. Shadows up, go. Now. Boom. And then he'll just go back to his normal spot and we'll be good to go. Just don't cast when you get back in. That's the biggest problem. I was gonna be stuck on the fucking aggro list. Watch him get aggro again. Okay. We're setting up the set. We'll do from the bottom of the beast set. This will be war. War accuracy. Use current. Strength and edit. I don't know why that doesn't give any strength. That's 5 strength. What do we have for gloves? Nothing. What do fighter gloves give? 4 strength. Okay, so they're a good weapon skill. We don't have any rings, so we'll just have Rajas. Gives minus attack and accuracy. Yeah, I don't think we have anything, so we can't use that yet. We want that. That, but for now, we're going as weak as a spike necklace, just for the extra strength. And this is equip set 79, so 79 and 80. Equip set 79. Equip set 80. And for this, go here. We won't have an equip set switch back, so I'll have to make sure that I do it back. Let's see how this goes. Full strength set. 790. Okay. And then swap back to accuracy set. Alright, we have a set swap now. See that damage go up. Why is it not? There it goes. 186. 728. Yeah, okay. That's a lot of extra damage. Set these on cooldown. Smash his face again. Yeah, okay. It's definitely worth it to swap. Oh, I'm a freaking idiot. Why the fuck don't I have this on? Like a fucking idiot. Totally forgot about that. Oh my god, I'm dead. Oh god, I'm fucking dead. It's so scary sometimes, holy shit. You just don't like me. He's a mad, mad boy. He's a mad, mad, bad boy. I'm fucking 4 TP. Are you kidding me? 4 fucking TP. What a joke. The big damages, even though that did nothing. Boo. Boo. Is it really light today? Nice. Super lucky on that. To have the refresh. This is kind of OP. Come on. Engage. Bitch. He gonna try, but he ain't gonna succeed. There we go. We'll smash him. Smash and dash him. This Dark Knight's a pussy, man. He's not using Soul Eater. He should be fucking smashing this shit for like 1500. Dual clubs is OP, but we're either the bard is not good at pulling, or we're suffering from success and killing shit too fast. I don't know. I can actually say it now that I am 75 bard. Maybe this bard isn't a good puller. Maybe I know what I'm doing and he doesn't. Because he hasn't pulled a pot yet after I said pull a pot after he killed the chain by not pulling a pot. So we'll see what happens. Maybe I should just run over and grab a pot. The red mage or the white mage said he's ready. He's got the enfeebling skill. He knows what's going on. Miss again. Oh, that's okay. Get that extra little boost of TP. Well, you can. So there we go. We got 6 going. Just gotta keep up the good work. It's just my delay between attacks is so long because we don't have any haste at all. That it's like, oof. It's kind of scary. We're probably not going to get this one. Get me in that party. 3 clubs. We'll ask for Zybe. Get him in here. trying to beat him to 75, but you know. Yeah, see. That was just we couldn't kill fast enough. So sometimes we're just not doing enough damage. And sometimes we just fuck it up, it's all down to the ranger's damage, which is the most inconsistent damage. But he's not using Soul Eater. He's not being a true Dark Knight. He's being a pussy. And it's not like the White Mage doesn't have mana, so I don't know why he's not hasting us. It's like everything in this party is wrong. We're getting Madrigal when we shouldn't be getting Madrigal. We're not getting haste. We're not getting March. People are holding their TP. Everyone just seems to be getting fucking lazy. I'm sitting here trying to out DPS when I'm not even using my fucking abilities. I'm an idiot. Not that one. Well, I mean, I guess we're attacking this one. Fuck it. That's how BT goes sometimes. It doesn't play by the rules. Well, that was the one I evoked, not this one. So we'll just have to hit this one. No, that wasn't what I wanted. I needed to buff. I need to get rid of that Mac. I just need to fucking smash it. It's pissing me off. I am so bad at using my abilities. Smash! Even with the double attack, we got it. Swap back to accuracy set. Just need a couple crits in there. Maybe we can break a K. Right, everyone seems to be in for the long haul. Might be able to get it. Nice. Nice. Still can't believe we're not getting chains. Like, it's almost unacceptable that we're not getting chains. Like, what could possibly be going wrong that we're not getting chains? As far as I can tell, I'm smashing. Well, we killed this thing in like less than 30 seconds. He's got a rampage. Before I get my rampage up. He's just not gonna. People holding their TP on the last 10%. 10% is totally worth using TP on. 3%, however, is not. Get me that damages, boys. Let's go! Fucking Sky Party away. Hey, look at me. Look at me. Over here. I'm the one you want to hit. I'm the one you want to try to kill. But you will be unable to kill. For I am a true warrior of light. Your wings are not wide enough to cast shadow upon the warrior of light. I'm gonna wait until my shadows are up and then I'm gonna evoke. Yeah, we were killing shit before provoke was even up, man. What the hell happened? Who be slacking on the deeps? I mean, I'm even outputting 500 plus now. I can do that 2, maybe 3 times a mob. Fucking hell, dive. I just end him, man. Just keep the thing. Okay, good. He ended it. We didn't have to. Go on. god, did he just fucking shadow bind it? Why is he fighting the other one? Man, this Dark Knight doesn't know which ones to fucking fight. Oh, Volk's not up, so I can't even do that. And he doesn't or he's not, if he does have a minstrel ring, he's not using. So he probably doesn't have a minstrel's. Well, I'm not just gonna lend it to him. That's, you gotta learn. You gotta learn. I got no vote. Got no vote, guys. What are we gonna do here? What are we gonna do? Okay, he's got the stun. We got this. Get over here. Damages are real! Not my damages, though. Ew. That was gross. Damages are so low. Oh, we didn't have Minuet, that's why. Even without songs, he still kept the chain. So, someone definitely was slacking on something that we lost. Everyone's got food. Oh, I'm gonna get smoked. I'm gonna get fucking smoked. Ah, shit. Woo! You took that shit off of me like no tomorrow. Bring it back. Bring it back. Smack that hoe. Look at that, he's gonna be able to slug shot again. Look at that shit. And we still can't get this chain. If I don't, come on, come on, come on, come on. No, we lost it. That's so brutal. We just don't have the damages when we don't have songs up, so it's the Bard's fault. It's the Bard's fault for not having songs on us. We're like so close to keeping the chain, but it just gets pulled right over the edge. And we're all trying to spam our TP, so... Ah, fuck, I'm using the wrong shit. I ain't using my specials. Ain't using my specials. I mean, the fact that he's not using Soul Eater is also super sad. Like, you should really be using Soul Eater and not be a pussy about it. Try to get my fucking shadows up. Come on. Well, I can't say I didn't try. No one's responded. Come on, get over here. Bitch. What you think you are? Motherfucker, you dead is what you are. You fucking dead, bitch. You fucking dead. 675. Not even that, that great. We got Wing Cutter, so give me enough time to get Ususemi up. And he misses anyways, because he's a little bitch. Waste my fucking shadow. Like an asshole. He's wind cuttering me. That's why only one person gets hit by wind cutter. Boom, 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 boom. 652. Man, the TP spam is fucking real with 2 clubs. It's like, look at that. He's like TP non-stop. It's crazy. It goes so hard though. Cause when I gets my TP, I smash your face, bitch. Fuck you. Now go Hansuki. Go Hansuki. Trying to engage, my attack speed is so slow. Well, thankfully, he took Kate. It was scary off the bat, but we're good now. $669. See, when he misses, it hurts so bad. Ooh, that could have hurt. That could have fucking killed me. It could have actually killed me. It's fucking scary. Gotta make sure my shadows are up before we engage. Zerk and everything. I just get completely shit-dicked. Mitsusemi's worthless. Against his wind cutter. We're gonna smack him again. He didn't die. Boom, dead. 847. And we're just keeping hate from critical hits. I need to get Utsu up before I get hate again, so I can't vote yet. That's the damages I'm talking about. This is the damages like it gets from Soul Eater. But this guy ain't using Soul Eater. Cause he's a fucking pussy. If he was using Soul Eater, he'd be smashing shit. He'd just be crushing it. Shit damage. Look, folks aren't even up yet. Fucking 8 TP, bro. This is so brutal. Every time by 8 TP. Missed! Bitch. We're gonna smack him until we can't smack him no more. When we can't smack him no more, it's because he ain't there no more. Oh, he's dead. Oh, 196! That was a double attack! But only did 769. Could have done way more. Well, we're on chain 9, so that's good. Keeping up the songs, which is good. Nice. Putting out the damages, putting out the damages. Oof. Not a good time. Not a good. I'm dead. Ooh, I thought I was fucking dead. I thought for sure I was fucking dead. Smash-a-doodles! That's right, bitch. Get some of this Mithra booty. Miss, my little bitch. Yeah, I don't know about this. I don't know about this. Okay, good. Good. Thank you for taking the damage off me for that second I needed. 667! So close. So close. Extortion 400. That's insane. I just can't Voke off the bat if I don't have shadows up. They're just gonna have to go on without me. Now we're just fucking killing it. I don't know what changed, but whatever it was, we're fucking killing it. That was shit damage. I might get crushed. No Utsusemi! No Utsusemi! Smash! Yeah, I can't do that anymore. Just change that. We'll use it if we need to, but we're just wasting so much shit. Man, look at these fucking hits. TP build is definitely faster on Dark Knight or on Warrior with the double attacks. It's pretty crazy. He still can't hit me. Motherfucker. Oh, did he just 2-hour? Why? Are we like dying? I don't know what the hell the bard's doing. I'm like, grab the pot if there's nothing here. Get your ass the fuck over here, bitch. We are gonna clap that ass. Alright, I can deal with that. Nice. Nice. Yeah, he has no idea what the order in the rotation is. He's not a good bard puller if he doesn't know what, especially here where it's super easy to just do a circle. Oh no, skis. Oh no, skis, bro, skis. This is bad skis, do skis. Bado skis, bado skis, do ski do diddles. I have known Susemi for a long time. And I should have TP'd, but I'm not going to. Yeah, we lost that because I turned into a pussy. I was like, yeah, no, I'm out. Fuck this. Pacey has no MP. I mean, that's the perfect time to benediction. He's a fucking smart white mage, I'll tell him that. But yeah, I am eating so much. My fault for being a pussy. And not trusting the white mage who had 34. Yeah, I know, we're suffering from success. Because we're killing way too fast. And my shadow's going out so fast too, it's fucking horrid. I'm fucking dead. Woo! Yeah, the white mage just can't keep up with this. Some damages. I think I might be fucked. Woo! I am so lucky. I am so fucking lucky. Oh god. This is so scary. Holy fuck. Alright. Like, yeah, I can't. I can't do any. I'm not voking that shit. Fuck that. I'm die. I'm fucking die. No one come near me. Don't put a fucking single wing cutter and I'm fucking dead. Like, I don't know why the camera shot over to him. Okay, I think I'm good. So he just used his. We use ours. We lost the chain anyways. So it's like getting some MP wouldn't be too bad. It's scary. It's scary being first vote. Suki needs to throw out more stuns. But bro, we need fucking MP. Hold the pulse. Hold the pulse. I'm gonna die. Dice Dizzle, welcome, welcome. How's it going, bro? We have a double club party going on right now. Dark Knight and Warrior. Except this Dark Knight's a pussy and he's not using Soul Eater. And I'm being a pussy because I've almost died 3 times in the last 2 minutes. So I'm just like, I'm just gonna chill. I don't have Protect. I don't have Shell. There's no bar arrow. I'm just not getting hit. Berserk really makes me take a lot of fucking damage. I'll give it one more tick, then I'll get up. Okay, that was the tick. Let's go. Almost instant TP. Oh, I need food on. That's what I need. Some sushi. I'll vote. We need that shit over here. Get your ass. Shit. Keep using the wrong one. I'm getting nowhere with that. I need to be over here so Takashi doesn't take damage. Should give me enough time to get this off? Yes. SMRT, bro! Thank you! We're doing the big dick here. Get the hits, 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 get the hits. Curse smashing doodles! 817. Hell yeah. Hell yeah! That's what I'm talking about. Smack this. 140 from just my main hand. That is crazy. Imagine the MP if he was actually using Soul Eater. Like, yeah, we really don't have the MP for him to be using Soul Eater. But if I was him, I'd still be using it because fucking maximum DPS. And I'd just be using a lot of drains. That's how you make up for it, is you just drain. Get that fucking dark gear. Plus dark skill gear. Shit is so helpful. No, you're getting back here. Get your ass back here. No, don't run into Ballad, idiot. Idiot! You have full MP. The hell do you need Ballad for? Ooh, this is gonna hurt. Alright, we're just sitting back. We're just sitting back. There we go. Smack him, and smack him, and smack him some more, and some more, and some more. Give him the smackers. We're gonna lose the fucking chain because I can't get goddamn TP. Oh, that's so brutal. Yeah, we lost the chain. That is so fucking bullshit. Just couldn't get any procs, man. All the worst fucking luck. I didn't even get hit because he missed me twice. Can't do nothing about that. Missed. That's lame. 496. Not exactly great. Let's bring it back over here. Keep away from that water elemental. We have had our qualms with that water elemental already. Don't need a second endeavor. Damn it! I'm really relying on a parry or a miss. So in this case, we're just fucking smacking them. Smack and smack and smack and smoke and smoke and smack. Because we have a white mage and the white mage is already running out of MP, so the Dark Knight is playing like a pussy. Which again, I don't really blame him. I just wouldn't be if I was him. I'd be dying all the time. No, after the first, he might, you know, I replaced a paladin in this party, so he may have died using Soul Eater. He may have been told not to use Soul Eater because it was too much MP. But we're still like losing chains, even with double club and ranger and a samurai and insane amount of weapon skills. And somehow we're still managing to lose the chain. And it's like, our white mage has no MP. I take so much damage. Helldive is fucking disgusting. We're gonna do like 700 to me if I have Berserk on. But hey, we went ahead and made a weapon skill set, so at least we're doing more damage with weapon skills, because I actually put on strength gear now. Now that we actually have some strength gear to swap over, other than the necklace, which I didn't want to give up the accuracy of the PCC. Well, I think it's 65. Whenever we hit 65, we can use... No, wait, these are 72. Never mind. I thought these were 65. I don't know why I thought those were 65. Party might be breaking soon, but I don't want to Voke, man. But I'm gonna. Because Utsusemi's up, so it's okay. Oh! And Ranger leaving. Yeah. He may still want skin, and then we get Zybe in the party! And then he's gonna, like, completely fucking destroy... I know, right? Like, who would have guessed? Oh, man. But yeah, I don't know. I actually kind of just want to go to bed. It's been a really long day. So we're at the 3-hour mark, and this seems almost like it's meant to be. If Zybe's not responding, then... See, I keep Voking before he's going to be a warrior. So we're going to have 3 clubs, because he's a warrior with a club. So we'll have 3 O clubs. 2 warriors and a Dark Knight. It's gonna be disgusting if you fucking respond. You got like 15 minutes to get him to respond. I want to do a 3 club party. That's some beautiful B-roll right there. Throw that in the background. Tell a fucking epic story while frickin' clubs are smashing against birds. I already have one. I got one planned for the club and Dark Knight club and Dark Knight relic and warrior relic. Had an epic party with 2 relics in it in Bizarro Coast. I was the lowest DPS. He was earlier, and then he kind of just stopped. So I think he's just tired, because he was, and he has passive region or refresh gear on, or yeah, he has passive refresh gear on. So I don't know. He's just bad. He's just bad. I'm probably out DPSing him. It's like the way I just steal hate from him. Like, I'm getting a lot of... Yeah, he must have. I'm gonna look in the link shell, see what he's doing. Zybe, motherfucker, wake up! He's just chilling. And I'm not on... is my phone dead? I can message him on Discord. Oh, my phone's not dead. I'm gonna message him on Discord. He's on my other Discord, not my stream Discord, and I'm logged into my stream Discord. By the way, join the Discord. Hit the follow button. You know you wanna. Yeah. Oh, I've had him on Discord for years, man. We've been friends for like 4 or 5 years. Back when I played on Wings. That's when I met him. Fucking long time ago. Real long time ago. noob. Get your fat ass up here to sky, bitch. XD face. And that's how you know you're friends. Except this guy's getting fucked, so maybe I should vote. Very bad time. So we might be disbanding the party. I don't know. Anyone else wants to like fuck off? Yeah, I'm pretty sure Hansuki's falling asleep. I don't have Voke up. I don't have Voke up. I can't do anything. I can't do anything. I don't have Voke. Run after it. Run after the bird. You got a friend. Give him back to me. Give the fucker back to me. Come on. Let's go. Come on. As a bard, I know how that feels. It is super annoying. It is super annoying when that shit happens. And you can't really do anything about it. Now did he respawn? It's been like 3 weeks since I messaged him because I haven't been on my other Discord. I still gotta figure out what I'm gonna do with the Link show. Because I want to do HENM, but the times just don't work for me. So, I don't know. I'm gonna talk to Zybe, see what we can do about that. If there's like secondary groups that we can establish like an EU late / NA early time, that would be wonderful, because yeah, I'm like an hour off from being able to like actually go to events, because I'd be like 3 hours late, which is unfortunate. Yeah, it looks like Zybe is out, so we tried, guys. So that most likely will be the stream for today. We will probably be on a little bit earlier tomorrow. Oh, I'm still in my SC gear because that macro doesn't put me back in my accuracy gear because I don't have enough slots in it to do that. I'm just gonna make it an instant. So we're gonna do that, and then 80. And it'll just be instant. Waited so long to dump our TP. Alright, there we go. 767. Bad week, bro? I was 59 yesterday. I was fucking 51 3 days ago. Like, this whole week we've gone from like... Actually, I don't even think it's been a week. I think we've gone 39 to 50, 64, almost 65 in a week. It took us 2 weeks to level... Bard. And we've been going surprisingly fast on Warrior as well, because people just want us to tank or be a first vote. So, and now we're finally at Sky Parties using Club. It's like, the journey has been wonderful, and we're finally here at the end, which is actually just the beginning of the next journey. And then we still have merits to do on top of that. And then we're done. I don't know. Do we level Dragoon next? Because Dragoon's like shit. Do we level fucking Sam next? Because it's good to have? We don't, like... I fucking don't know what to do next. Join friends again? Do HNMs? I don't know. Because 3 weeks and Path of Exile 2 comes out, and then I'm just going to be playing Path of Exile 2. So I'm like, maybe we just go back to playing RuneScape once we hit 75 and we're fully merited. And we just call everything off until Treasures of Odd Oregon comes out, and then we'll come back and level up Blue Mage. I think that's the best thing to do. Because then we can play Path of Exile 2 Beta, and then we can play Monster Hunter Wilds when it comes out. And the beta is supposed to be tomorrow for like early access. So I am excited to see what both Tectone and Rage Gaming are going to do with that. Because I don't know if they're going to have a live sesh. I know I'm definitely watching Tectone tomorrow. 100%. 100% watching that shit. I am fucking so stoked for fucking Wilds. Gonna be Gunner and Insect Glaive, as always. And probably because Insect Glaive will be a little bit underpowered, as always, we'll have probably Switch Axe as a follow-up backup, smashing, like, easy farmer. Because usually farming with Insect Glaive is not fun. Let me just finish up this shit, and we will be on our way. So again, remember, you can't say fuck you to your friends. Who can you say fuck you to? Fuck you!